All right, so we're live. Hello. Uh, uh, Give me 1 second, everybody, real quick. And Jan, I just want to make sure I put this that way it's available for everybody to see here. All right, there we are right there. Let me share it to the personal feed. And let's see. All right. And hashtag The Last of Us. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. I was trying to do this before we started, and it wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me share it. So, all right, and it's posted, so we should be good to go. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Deadhead Podcast, episode 7, and this one's a special one for us to bring to you today. And as always, I have my co-host Jan with us. Jan, you got anything for the people today?
Oh, well, it's lucky number 7. It's The Last of Us launch day. Well, it's not launch day, but it's the day we're discussing it, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh yeah. I've been dying to talk about it. I have done nothing else besides work and play Last of Us. If you go on my PlayStation account, I'm sure you see me. I'm on there every night, and I'm currently on my second playthrough, which we will get into more detail a little bit later. So you're talking to two guys right now who know this story, who know this game probably more than most, because as me, I mean, this is called the Deadhead Podcast. So obviously, I'm into like bleak and apocalyptic things as it is. So this game is like right up my alley. So it seems like it's right up Jan's too. Is that right? Would you say that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it totally, when I first played it, like back in 2013, I was 13 back then. It totally opened a whole new world to me.
Right.
I fell in love with it, and I never fell out of love.
And you would say that's probably the reason why you like Walking Dead and stuff, right? It has that same sort of feel, apocalyptic.
I never thought about it. But it could definitely be it, right? It has this whole survival thing that maybe it might not be the thing that hooked me in, but it definitely had an impact on me. And later on, I subconsciously seeked for similar stories. I think you're right.
Right. Yeah. Well, I always like the story where your survival is like the integral part of any story, right? Any story that has that survival aspect. And I think that's why I was so big and I still am. I've just kind of died off since the show has kind of become redundant.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the last 8 episodes. I think I was telling you this a couple shows ago, and I've been sticking with it to the very end, but it's getting harder and harder to watch because when you like, all right, so of course this episode is mostly about Last of Us, but when you watch a story like The Last of Us unfold and you see how great and connected and how these central characters converse and are in each other's lives, you watch this and then you go watch this shallow piece of shit that's on TV now. It's just like, man, you see what a story in a world like this could be, and I can't wait to talk about it because I love this. I love this world in this game, so I'm glad that I have someone like you who shares that same feeling.
I'm definitely a fanboy.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I am too. I've been living, breathing, and eating this game. If I could eat it, I would. If I could dream about it, I would. And I'm on my second playthrough. Have you played through the main game again, or have you just finished it one time?
No, I think I finished it once. The main game and the DLC. But I did 100% it. So all the collectibles, all the trophies. So I still have. Yeah. So I did. I have so many. Like I have some experience with it. Not as good as you, maybe, but I even put a little. I did some notes. Sorry for interrupting you. I put on some notes so I wouldn't forget some things that I noticed about it, some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like. So I think we can discuss about that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of list. Matter of fact, I've had a list for the whole week, and I've just been kind of adding on to it like every time I play the game, because not only am I playing. So all right, so I have played Left Behind before, but that was, this is like, probably when I got the remaster for PS4. I have not played it since getting this. I just love the base game. It's not that I don't like Left Behind or Ellie's story 3 weeks prior, but the main game just hits a little bit more with me personally. So
I completely agree. I also, like, this time that I played Left Behind, I think it was my second time. Like the
Right.
main game is the main attraction here. The main game
Of course,
is
yeah.
the thing that I play like time and time again. I can probably recite every cutscene by heart. Left Behind is neat. It's cool, but it's it just doesn't compare. You feel?
Yeah, yeah. The best parts that I remember, and we'll get into that. Probably not as much because I don't know the DLC as good as the original game. But the best parts that I remember is the parts when you're having to go out and salvage for Joel when he's been injured, when he fell on that rod outside the Firefly building, and he's kind of incapacitated there, laying on the ground, and you have to go out and scavenge for him and stuff like that. So that's a really fun part of the game, from what I
This is pretty
remember.
much the whole the whole DLC is just that. Like it has like a flashback and flash forward, so
Right,
it jumps
yeah.
across between you looking for things to stitch up Joel with,
Mhm.
and her flashback of how she met up with Riley, her friend, and how she got infected eventually.
Right.
But playing it back, I didn't enjoy it too much. I gotta be honest with you.
Left Behind?
It might be because Left Behind. Like it's cool, it's good,
Right.
But it's just a bit. It's a bit unbalanced, I think, in the pacing, because in the parts with Riley, there's no combat, there's no nothing. In the parts where you're, in the future, in the present, scavenging stuff for Joel, it's a lot of little encounters that are not really difficult. There's just one difficulty spike at the very end. I mean, it's still The Last of Us. It's still fun, but I don't think those are the best encounters in the game. Like far from it.
Yeah.
But the parts of Riley are cool, but it really could have just been one huge cutscene, if you ask me. But I don't want to be a hater, so that's how I feel about it.
It almost makes you think why they didn't add it to like the main game, because what is it, like 2 hours long, something like that?
Pretty much,
like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could have easily. I mean, honestly, would I want to play through that? Not really, but I mean, I'd be fine.
I think it would have really, really hindered the pacing if they put it in the main game.
Yeah.
If they put it, right after Joel gets injured. Because I think that there's this really cool part. You probably don't even notice anymore because you already know the whole story. But the very first time we played that game, we see Joel getting very injured, like very badly, right? And the next shot, we're just playing as Ellie. There's no sign of Joel around. And then she meets up with what's his face, the guy, the cannibal.
David.
It's not David. Yeah,
David.
She's messed up with David. Yeah, and she starts bluffing. She's saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, I got tons of people with me." But it appears to me that at least the game is trying to give us the impression that Joel isn't around anymore, right? But then she starts asking for antibiotics, and then we sigh with relief, right? Okay, so Joel is around. I think we wouldn't have had that, that panic attack, if we just had that whole section.
Yeah, spoiler alert, by the way. Not that.
Oh yeah, I mean, we should have said it in the beginning. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this game.
Yeah, I feel like that goes without saying for a game as old as this is, but you got people that. I mean, I think that so. Let's get into it a little bit. So, like, we had this conversation before the game came out. Like, who is this game targeted for? Is it for old fans, or is it for new fans? And after playing the game, would you say this is more of the definitive way for new players to come into the story, as opposed to people like us who've beaten the game probably 4 or 5 times already?
Well, I mean, short answer, yes. Like definitely, like usually I'm a bit iffy when it comes to like remasters and remakes. So I always think there's a charm to the original version, and when they update the UI so much, they update the model so much, I think it looks nicer, but something is lost. This is not the case. I think that The Last of Us is one of those games that tries to target to like a photorealistic kind of look.
Right.
So upgrading it doesn't really doesn't take anything away with it. It just makes it better. Now, the only problem with this is saying, recommending it to new players would be like saying, "Oh yeah, do not pay $10 for the remaster or free if you have PlayStation Plus. Instead, spend $70 for this remake." I think this is the main crux of it. This is the main thing that I want to discuss with you is the price, because I think there is no denying that this remake is greatly made. It's fantastic.
Correct.
It does nothing but improve the game. but that price is a real it's a real kick in the nuts. It's made me kind of think whether I wanted to buy it or not. Eventually my fanboy side kind of won over me, and I did, but I don't know, I cannot recommend it in good conscience.
Just jumping right into it, I see.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to have this prolonged discussion, but this is it. Yeah, this is my verdict. I cannot, like, bro, it's actually the same game. It's legitimately the same game, right? But like $50 pricier. Now, do you agree with that, or
man? It's just I'm surprised you came at the game's neck as hard as you did right off the bat. I thought we'd be like 30 minutes into the show before you were like, yeah, this isn't worth it.
Well, honestly, like I kind of planned it like that, but it's like it's this huge elephant in the room, right? And you can't just ask me, do you recommend it? I'm like, yeah, but like no. I feel like sure, if you don't give a shit, like if you're just fucking rich, right, or considerably wealthy, and you absolutely want to play the best version possible, right? Like no expenses, expenses aside, sure, just grab it, do it.
Correct.
But the remaster is still a very very, like, there's no wrong way to play it. Is what I'm trying to get at. There's the expensive way, and then there's a cheaper way.
Right. All right. Well, before I give a rebuttal to what you just said, so let's say, for instance, you ever go back and play The Last of Us. Which one are you playing? Are you playing the remake or the remaster? Which one would you prefer?
Well, I mean, now that I own both, I'm definitely replaying the remake. So that's what I'm saying. Honestly, the remake is, if you're pragmatically speaking, right? If you're putting everything aside, or if you're putting economics aside, definitely the remake is the best way to play.
Right.
It's got a lot of improvements. Most people say it's like the same game. I disagree. I think there's a lot of little improvements that they kind of better the experience. And I wouldn't want, like a lot of people said, oh, I hope there would be like something different or maybe some major improvement. I think that there's no reason to fix something that's not broken. Like, why would we just start adding a shit ton of stuff to this game, which is already perfect the way it is, right? There's this saying, it's like, adding like a cowbell to one of the greatest symphonies, right? Why would you do that? The symphony is great the way it is. So, but what was the question?
My question to you, and I think you pretty much answered it, was now that you have both,
remake,
would you go back and play the remake or the remaster? So to you, now that you have it, the remake is obviously the definitive way to go back and play it. But what you're saying is the remaster is as good as it is, so it's really real reason to get the remake if you've already played the game. Or are you saying if you haven't played the game, then you could just play the remaster and you'd be fine? Is that what you? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you never played the game, right, and you kind of feel bad, you're not sure if you want to spend so much money on this game, on this like almost 10-year-old game, I'd say don't feel bad about playing the remaster. Absolutely, don't feel bad. But don't feel bad about playing the remake either. Honestly, it's really up to you. I'm just saying that it is pretty much, you're not losing anything by choosing either version. I think those are my closing thoughts.
No, I mean, everything you said makes sense. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I will say is, now I'm probably a little more positive in as far as, all right, so the $70 price tag, I agree with you. But I think, like we talked about in last week's episode, or one before that, one of those times we brought up The Last is we talked about, it's going to be worth it to, it's the person's preference on what's really worth it. Like to us, and especially for speaking on a personal level here, I love this game so much that no matter how many times, and I know I'm bad. See, these are like Madden and 2K type people I'm talking here. It doesn't matter how many times they release it. If there's even a small chance that it could be better, I more than likely will put the money forward. Now, if they're over here putting like a remake out for like $150, okay, whatever, $150 or something like that, all right, I'm not doing that. But $70, that's expensive. But I love the game that I'm willing to put the money down to get it.
Well, I mean, same here, but that's just the thing. We love this game so much. We would do anything for it, right? But I was just trying to look at the out of a perspective of someone who either hasn't played it or has played it, but is not so much into it.
Right. Yeah. So, is it? Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying. So, like, if somebody who hasn't played it before, I mean, that's especially for if you're talking about people who've beaten the game, and like I said, I'm on my second playthrough. I'm playing on Grounded Plus right now.
Oh, that's a bitch.
It's tough, but there's a silver lining to it, which I'll get to in a little bit later. But as far as is it worth it to people who've never played it before? Like you say, there's not. Okay, so all right, take a remake like Final Fantasy VII. Okay, like how it was in the 90s, and then you look at it, and when the game came out, 2019, 2020, I don't really remember. 2020. You look at that. That is a straight up remake. Everything from the ground up to how Cloud and the party looks, the way all that stuff just looks.
The combat, everything.
Everything is revitalized and new. When you look at Last of Us Part 1, it's the only thing new is the graphics. To me, and I'll get a little bit into my list here because I'm kind of integrating some of my list. It's not like we got to sit here and give the whole list or anything. I'm trying to bring it in kind of naturally. And I figure since we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and bring up one of mine, and then I'll kind of, whenever you feel like you want to chime in, go ahead. So I put down for pros, I put the gameplay to me feels smoother than the remastered. However, I don't feel like the gunplay is much different. Now, what do you mean by that? Now, what I mean is the way Joel moves. The way he you can't dodge in this game. That's a mixed for me. I think a dodge mechanic would have worked really well in this game. Maybe not a prone. I didn't use prone that much in The Last of Us Part 2 anyway, but I used dodge. And there was a couple moments, and I can give you one example. Actually, I can give you several, but one example in particular is when that sequence when you're underneath the hotel. Do you know what I'm talking about? The sequence when you're underneath the hotel and you have to start the generator. Right. You have to start the generator, and you got stalkers coming at you. You got the bloaters. You got one bloater coming at you, and a couple runners
too.
Correct. And so when I'm on Grounded Plus, they are just like in your face bad. Now, I mean, well, Dylan, you're playing it on Grounded Plus. Yes, I know that, but if I had it's going to be hard. I know that, but if you had a dodge mechanic, if I see a clicker coming, I know Joel is 52 years old in this game, but he's in pretty decent shape. You can't tell me he can't just step out the way. If the guys that I'm shooting at, check this out. The guys that we're shooting at, they can dodge. I've seen them do it. Why can't Joel? And I wouldn't say it's a problem because I played the game fine. You don't really need the dodge, but it would have been really nice to have it. And I think that I get what the developers are saying. Like, hey, we want to stick true to the original game. But I think the whole point of a remake is to put those elements that came after to make the gameplay experience a little bit more smoother. I mean, how did you miss a dodge?
Well, if I can chime in, I also noticed that this thing where they did put some improvements, some quality of life improvements from Part 2, but not the dodge. I don't know if you noticed, but in the original, if you're in your own stealth and you grab an enemy and you try to fucking choke him, right? Yeah. If you get spotted while you're choking him, you still got to sit through the entire animation, right? All the while they're surrounding you, they're shooting at you, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Well, in this game, they did this thing you can do in Part 2 where, while you're choking him, if you get spotted, he just fucking breaks your neck real quick. So it interrupts the animation. He kills him fast, so you can kind of adapt to this new situation. So they did that. They also did the thing where while you're aiming with your weapon, right? You can tap R1 and it changes a weapon, like from the short gun to the long gun.
Right.
They did that. They also did the thing where this might be a little bit of a nitpick, but in the original game, if you had a brick, you cannot pick up any other bricks, but you can pick up a bottle, and if you do, you lose your brick, and vice versa. And it always drove me mad. In The Last of Us Part 2, that's not a thing. If you have either a brick or a bottle, like a throwable item, you cannot pick up any other throwable items. They did a thing. Part 1 is in this remake is the same thing, well, kind of. It lets you know it says swap when you try to pick up another throwable item.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get at, they did add a lot of these quality of life changes, but not the dodge. And I'm sitting here wondering why. You know what? Like just as you said, it really would prove useful in a lot of situations. You know, and if these other things that do make the game easier are allowed, why not this one? Is this dodge so much an improvement? Is it so broken that it's like too much power for a player to have? And yeah, I'm just a little bit torn about that. You're right. Yeah, like Joe is old, but he is fairly nimble. Like I've seen this guy sprint. I've seen this guy deal like he can be pretty nimble. So I really cannot imagine it's.
Speaking on that, you said sprint, and it made me think. Like, have you seen? One thing I did notice in this, and I know we're kind of jumbled all over the place now.
Are you gonna talk about the grunts?
Yeah. Have you noticed he's a lot? He gets tired like really quick, man. I mean, he's still sprinting, man. He's still sprinting, man. But it's like
no, I hate it.
Geez.
I hate it. That was a thing in part 2. And I remember I was watching this streamer as soon as the remake was announced. This one streamer, I forgot what his name was, but he also mentioned this. He said, "Oh, is Joe gonna grunt like that in part 1?" And he fucking does. Like as soon like you run for 2 seconds, it goes like it's very exaggerated. Like it's not even human. Like it sounds like he's fucking. I don't know. Like he just got off life support. I don't know what they're doing with this guy. Like I cannot imagine like what the voice actors were doing right in the recording booth. I cannot imagine the faces this guy was making while recording it. Also, come to think of it, I just thought about this, but all the lines were not re-recorded. I checked the same exact ones. There was a reason to, but the fact that they added these grunts make me think that they bought back the voice actor just to record the grunts.
Yeah.
Seems like it. Do you follow me? Right, it seems like it because they were not in the original game. I don't know. Just
they weren't. That's why it stuck out to me because I noticed he was a lot louder, and then I think I watched a video on YouTube, you know, just playing the remaster, and he didn't sound nearly. I mean, yeah, he was breathing heavy, like if he was running a little, but it was not like that. He sounds like a barking dog almost. Like
honestly, yeah. I mean, Ellie was the same in part 2. Like you run for 3 seconds and she's fucking, I don't know. It sounds as if that's how I sound after I run for so long. Like, and I don't live in a fucking apocalypse. I feel like,
I thought, exactly. Yeah, you would think she'd be more fit to be living in that world. I mean, she's 19 years old in part 2, so there's no reason for you to be this tired. But so anyway, to wrap back around to the gameplay, I do feel like gameplay is smoother, but I'm gonna have to. Or maybe if you're bored one day, you could re-download it and let me know. But I feel like the gunplay is refined, but I don't feel like it's different. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say because I did go back and play part 2. I did do that. And by the way, like I think I'm playing on Survivor and I'm playing through part 2 again, but I'm taking a break because I was playing through the remake, and I felt like the shooting in the in part 2 was a little bit more, I guess, more modern, I guess you could say. It just obviously because the game came out later. It's not that the shooting is bad in Last of Us at all. The remake, I think I will say by far my favorite gun is the shotgun. That was the first gun that I had. That I had completely customized. I had everything, all the attachments, and that feels so nice, man. When you're getting chased by a group of clickers and you just turn around and you just let one off really quick, man. It sounds, the sounds and stuff is just the sound effects and everything is great. It's definitely, I can definitely tell a difference in sound. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like it definitely sounds?
Not only that, like the haptics too. Well, when it comes to like the feel of the game, right? When all these things like the sound, the vibration, and the fucking triggers, yes, I see a lot of improvements. But the game itself, I'm not saying that it didn't improve it, but I'm just saying that all my knowledge from the previous game easily transferred to this one. I did not need to readapt in any way. So it makes me think that it's not that different, except for one thing. And that is the bow, and that is exclusively because it changed the reticle. It's not. I don't know if you remember, but in the original one, you just had like you aim with a bow, and it was like a straight line.
It was a straight line
just showing.
Yeah.
Well, now you have this fucking. It looks like a sniper rifle reticle, and I don't know what to do with it. Like I understand how it's supposed to work. Like the farther you're in, like the farther your target is, you're supposed to use the You're supposed to aim higher or something like that.
Yeah.
I get it, but it was really hard for me at that. I didn't use the bow at all in my one playthrough, except for when you have to. I don't know if you remember, but you surely do. When you just start playing as Ellie, you have to shoot at that fucking deer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you usually have no problems with it. Just go 2 for 2, right? You have to shoot 2 times and do it both times. In this remake, I was chasing that piece of shit deer for I think 10 minutes because I could not.
Right, yeah.
And also, while we're on the topic, I don't know if I'm just dumb, but sometimes, okay, so while you're winding up, the arrow with a bow, it's got the reticle is kind of gray, and as soon as you're fully wound up, it turns white. It turns the color is supposed to be, and you know what I'm talking about. It gets a little bit of animation.
Right.
There were a lot of times while I was trying to use the bow, because I was like, okay, Jan, grow out of it. Try to adapt. Try to use this fucking bow. Sometimes it just wouldn't wind all the way up. Like I could shoot the arrow back, but it wouldn't, it wasn't fully charged, and the aiming was a bit messed up. Did that happen to you? There are a lot of times where I was just discouraged of using it because I could not get it right. Just
Well, I'll tell you what. I know it's kind of too late now because you played through the game. I'm on my second playthrough, and I didn't find this out until halfway through my first. The accessibility options. You can actually change the reticle to, and you know how when you're aiming most weapons, there's like a circle as opposed to like a dot on the screen. You know what I'm talking about? When you're aiming down sights, it's like a circle.
Yeah,
and when that circle closes tighter, you'll have a more precision shot. But if it's wider, you're less likely to hit your target. Well, so what I did was I went to my accessibility and I went to gameplay and I changed my reticle size to just a dot. And I found that using the bow and arrow was a lot easier because you didn't have to adjust yourself to the old. Because it's like you say, the shooting the bow in this game is way more accessible and honestly way more fun. Although I barely use it because I just like going in there and just mopping the floor and massacring these guys. You know what I mean? Why be quiet? I'm Joel. I'm big. You know what I mean? I go in there and start smashing faces, but. If you do decide to go back, did you say you were playing through it again? I'm sorry. I think I asked you that before.
No, I'm not. I kind of.
Oh, okay.
I just played it once.
If you do play it again, turn the reticle down to the dot. I'm telling you, man, it'll make it so much more. Yeah, it makes a world of a difference because I haven't had that specific situation happen to me, but I do notice that when I change the reticle, it seemed like I can control. Like the sniper rifle was, believe it or not, was giving me issues when I first started the game because the way before you get the scope, that circle was like killing me. It's something about that. I was never accurate, and I would have like 5 rounds, and I would miss like at least 3 of them, and I'd only be left with like 2 rounds left. So I was like, man, there's got to be a way. And then I was scrolling through Twitter, and someone said, if you're having trouble aiming, go to your accessibility options, change it to the dot, and it's worked like a dream. Because see, now I'm playing on Grounded Plus, and like I don't miss, and I have auto aim cut off. I don't play with auto aim. I don't know how much you've touched in the accessibility. That's something I was going to ask you. Like, what all have you changed in your accessibility options?
Because
I've only done. So all right. So my first playthrough, I played it on hard because I didn't know how the AI was going to be. You know, they prepped it up in the trailer, like, oh, this is the smartest AI. I
kind of wanted to talk about that. I did going to talk about. There are a few encounters that are very different.
Yeah, they did a little bit, but I will say that they're still kind of stupid on hard. Now I'm playing on Survivor Plus now, and these guys, this is real. This is like the most real interaction of AI I've ever played in a game.
Well, you're playing on Grounded or Survivor?
Oh, sorry, Grounded Plus now. I was playing on. I was just playing on just hard my first playthrough, because I was like, well, I didn't know how hard it was going to be, and I do kind of just want to go through the game. I don't want to like be getting my ass kicked the entire time. But I played through hard, and I think I died maybe 7 or 8 times, and really most of those deaths came underneath the hotel, and then at the end of the game when I was trying to save Ellie. That was it, because those are like the hardest parts for me. Everything else I was going through. Grounded Plus, I have died quite a few times, mostly because what it is, I'll tell you this, and then I'll let you go. What I die from most in this second playthrough is guys running up on me with shotguns, and it's the funniest thing ever.
Yes,
dude, it's the most aggravating and funniest thing ever, because I'll be behind cover, and my wife was watching me play it, and I was hiding behind cover, and I seen a guy coming, and I was kind of being stupid. I could have moved a little bit so he could go around me, but I didn't think he's going to have like pinpoint accuracy and kill me right away. But I would poke my head up slightly and bam!
And and that's it.
That was it. That's a wrap.
Yeah, that did happen to me. That happens on hard too. So, are you confirming this? That happens on hard?
Because it happened. Grounded Plus is where I'm getting most of that. Hard, it did it a little bit, but Grounded Plus, I mean, these guys are relentless.
No, because I played on Survivor, because I still have some pride. But because I keep thinking to myself, all right, so I got nothing to prove, right? I don't need Grounded. I beat Grounded once. I don't need to punish myself on this first playthrough. I kind of wanted to enjoy it. But I don't know, choosing a lower difficulty, like, I don't know. If you played The Last of Us as many times as I have, right, and you're still, playing this game, I think you gotta all the options under Survivor. You just forget about them, right? It's either Survivor or Grounded. Those are my options, but that's just me, right?
No, that's right.
They are assholes. Yeah, the shotgun guys. They are fucking. Yeah, they're rude. They're rude as fuck. What's worse is you just poke your head out. Sometimes that happened to me countless times. But sometimes I try to play like preemptively. So I try to, poke my head out before they're too close, right? So I get to shoot them first. What these fuckers do, they dodge. They dodge a bullet and then they shoot me. It's incredible. It's and I didn't remember them doing that in the original.
Nah, and you know what's funny about that is too, a few times that I've died during that, like I'll be aiming at one person, and then I'll hear Ellie go, "On your left." And as soon as she says "on your left," I'm getting just like battered with a freaking bat or something. It's like, Ellie, damn it, you could have said something like, when he was farther away, you're gonna wait till the bitch is right up on me.
That didn't happen to me. And while we're on the topic, that's another thing they changed. They added, when Ellie warns you of enemies, maybe when you're in stealth, you get a little. Maybe it doesn't happen on Grounded because there's no HUD, but you get like a little arrow pointing to the enemy that she warned you about.
Right.
Yeah, that's a new thing. But speaking of the AI, I actually have some notes here. So the Spotlight encounter. So after you meet up with the two brothers,
Henry and Sam. Yep.
Henry and Sam. So there's this Spotlight encounter, right? So you gotta get through this checkpoint, right, to escape the city. And there are these guys who are like looking for, infected with a spotlight. And in the original game, the spotlight doesn't do shit. It really is only there for show, really.
Right.
This time you gotta watch out, because if you're anywhere near a spotlight where you're creeping around, or getting near them, they will fucking spot you, and the spotlight will keep shining on you. They will keep it on you, and you will not be able to go back to stealth as long as that fucker is on you. And and you can shoot at it and break it. I don't know if you could do it in the original. You might have, but I never had any reason to. Now you can. You can shoot. You can break it. So it's lights out for them. So they definitely did change that. That's a new thing. So it's mostly.
I was gonna say, do you get an achievement for that? Do you get an achievement for? I thought I saw that in the trophy list that you get an achievement for cutting that off.
So let's just get the achievement talk out of the way. I think the achievements, like a trophy list in this game, it's pretty dumb. They dumbed it down so much. So the original had all these trophies for beating the game on high difficulties, or like fully upgrading Joel, fully upgrading his weapons. Now you only got to beat the game once. You only need to upgrade one weapon to its max. Like, they just removed a lot of trophies, and to make up for it, they added a lot of this little like busy work trophies, like the one you said it's for shutting down the generator while in stealth, which is just
that's right.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's not that much of an achievement, you just go there and fucking do it.
Yeah,
And
another one is when you go to Bill's town and you find a letter of his buddy Frank that it kind of implies he's in love with this guy. You go into the house and he hung himself, and he wrote him a letter and kept it in his room, and Bill didn't know about it. So you bring it to him, say, Bill, Joel, and Joel's, hey, Bill, I think you need this. And Bill looks at it for like a second. He balls it up and throws it on the ground. There's an achievement for going to pick it up. And I didn't know that in my first playthrough. In my second playthrough, I got it and I got the achievement. But it's small stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, but you could do it in the original too. So I don't know. Like, I think it's cool that they're like drawing attention to this kind of stuff, but it's not much of an achievement, You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
it's almost like Easter eggs, man. It's not like it takes challenge to do it. It's just like, it's there. I'll go over there and get it.
Yeah, and if there were like a few of them, then I would be okay with it. Because like having a few little ones, but it's like the trophy list is littered with them. There's like fucking 10 of these. There's one for leaving Ellie hanging.
Yeah.
And I never did that. That was the first and only time I'll ever do it because I didn't have the heart. She's so happy, right?
Yeah.
And it's right after, the very depressing scene with Sam and Henry. So you kind of need kind of a lighter moment. You have a chance for it and you fucking waste it. I couldn't. Why would they do that? Why couldn't the achievement be for, high-fiving her?
That's kind of an asshole move because you should be proud of her, man. I mean, you go down there, you get the pallet, you move her over there, which, by the way, that brings me to those one of the mixed or / negative. I wouldn't say it's I don't know. One of the mixed things I have is the puzzles, man. Like the ladder puzzles, the pallets, and then the dumpsters, right? Like those are all like the puzzles in this game. Yeah, if you can call them puzzles. I mean, you can solve them in literally like 3 seconds. But I mean, like those are kind of like outdated mechanics. I feel. Do you feel the same way, or do they not really bother you that much? They didn't really bother me, but they're more of just like, all right, after I've done this second or third time, it's like,
it's really, it really gets on your nerves by the third time you're playing. It's kind of like, the climbing in Uncharted, when it's like there's really no challenge to it. You're just pushing the stick in a direction and pressing X. Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is it. It's the same thing. So, Joel just says, "Oh, there's no ladder, so you gotta walk around the map looking for this ladder." Then you get it, and I don't know, pat yourself on the back. You found the fucking ladder. I don't know.
But see, about the thing about Nathan Drake, though, I'll say is that while the climbing is, you're just turning the analog stick away. You want to climb, and you hit X to grab onto the ledge. While it is kind of samey, I think the broader theme of doing that is showing you the landscape that you're climbing on, because usually it zooms out and shows you like mountains and caves and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It is at the end of the day, it is just holding the stick up and moving.
That's kind of what I wanted to get at. Just like as in Uncharted, there's like there's a bigger reason why we have this climbing. I think The Last of Us, the bigger reason why we have this this downtime is pretty much to kind of to suck you into the atmosphere, kind of into the. There's many times there's like a little bits of dialogue here and there.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's not like a lot of dialogue, but they do interact a bit, and it gives you an idea of where these characters are mentally, what the relationships are like. I think this is what this times are for. They're pretty much interactive cutscenes, if you ask me.
And dude, I'll say, man, like Ellie is so cute in this game, man, and just to see. You get why she and like I said, that's a whole other thing that I hope to get to by the end of this show today. But just seeing Ellie, and she's so optimistic and so happy, like despite everything that's going on in the game, it's almost like you really need her in this game. Especially during those moments that are so like dark and grim. Like the Henry and Sam scene is one of those scenes that like. It hits you like a train. It just hits you so hard, like really quick. Even to this day, like seeing it, and that's one thing I will say when it comes to like the visuals, right? Like we're saying, okay, well, people who've never played this game, they should just, if you just want to save some money, just stick to the remaster because there's not much difference. The one thing I will say is with the visuals, in moments like with Henry and Sam, the beginning with Sarah, when Joel and Tess, their last conversation where this is not a game, Tess, like that, like his face, the facial animation and the way, dude, the way they look, it's so much more realistic, and you can feel it a lot more. Like when Tess looks at Joel and says, "There's got to be enough here that you'll take Elle." I said Elle because I've been watching Stranger Things. When taking Ellie to the Fireflies, and you could feel that a bit more. When Tess is conveying that, like you definitely know now. Like you've had speculation since the game came out, like, oh man, was Joel and Tess banging? Were they together? But I felt it was a little bit more real in this remake because you could feel it a little bit more.
Well, I kind of always thought they were a thing, but I do agree what you're saying, especially in the Sam and what's his face? I keep forgetting.
Henry.
The other brother. Henry, yeah. In the Sam and Henry cutscene, yeah, the look in Henry's face, before he pose a quirk, it's real. Like his entire, actually, now we're talking about this, they kind of change the looks of many characters, right? They look way less video gamey, especially characters like Henry and Tess. Tess kind of had the same look in the original game, like all the time. She had this very stoic, brooding look. She had her eyebrows, like this. But as you said, yes, in this one, she has a lot more emotion. She actually looked desperate when she was telling Joe, "Okay, please do this for me. This is important." But yeah, as you said, there's got to be enough here for you to feel some sort of need to do this thing for me, right?
Right.
So yeah, I will agree on that part. Sure, I will give you that. Touche. You win. Animations are right, but
it's just
the camera work is kind of.
Yeah. Those moments, man. Like another one is a good example is when it's a great example is when Ellie hears that Joel is going to leave her with Tommy in Jackson, so she flees. She gets on a horse and she goes to this farm, and that conversation that Joel and her have before they get ambushed, and she's like, "Everyone who's ever come into my life has ever left except for you," and pushes him. And I just, man, just to see their facial expressions at each other in that moment, it almost like it hit me a lot harder. And I will say it did hit me a few times playing because I know the story and I know, like I say, I could probably quote all the scenes, but just seeing it again and seeing this look in Joel's eye, like, because she brought up Sarah like right before that, and she said, "I'm not Sarah," and he said, "Ellie, you're treading on mighty fine ice here." And like you could see like a tear. It's the graphics are so good, man. Go back and watch it if you didn't see it, but it's like a tear on the corner of his eye, and he's like,
"I did not notice that.
You're not my daughter, and I'm not your dad, and we're going our separate ways." And as soon as he said that, Tommy comes in like, "Oh man, we're in trouble," and it's like it sucked that Tommy had to interrupt like that because it was such a deep moment, and I was really into it, man.
Okay, no, I definitely agree with you there. Which, okay, so we were kind of jumping from one topic to another, but I gotta ask you this while we're on the topic. So, I don't know if we ever talked about the Last of Us HBO series that is coming out.
Not really, not yet.
I think we've had. Have you seen the teaser trailer? Did they release it like a few weeks back?
They showed the scene with Pedro Pascal. All right, so they showed a couple, but the one that I remember in particular was the one I just said. With
the exactly. That's what I remembered about it.
And the way he delivers the line, it's not that it's bad. It doesn't hit nearly as hard as Troy Baker.
I don't mind Pedro Pascal's. You have no idea what loss is.
Yeah,
I don't mind his as much, but it did mind. I don't know what the little girl actor is called, but.
The girl plays Ellie. Yeah. I don't know.
Not at all. She says the same thing like everyone that I've ever known has left me except for fucking you. It's not there. It's honestly, it's.
Does she say that?
The way I just said it. Yeah. She says everyone. Teaser? Yeah, she says, I don't think they didn't show the scene, but there's like a voiceover.
Oh, okay.
They show like a bunch of. She does say, everyone has either died or left me except for you. But it doesn't say there's no energy in it. There's no oomph.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that it's kind of a placeholder that they kind of recorded real quick for the teaser. And in the actual show, it's not like that. But I don't know. It's looking grim.
Yeah,
I
I
think the
don't.
show's really looking grim.
I'm keeping my expectations really low because it's really hard to replicate what is coming the game. I mean, that goes for anything, right? Like we talked about, and I don't want to deviate too far from Last of Us, but we talked when we talked about Uncharted, right? But they really deviated from the source material to the point where it's not that it's bad, but it's like you say, why settle for fine when we can have great, you know? And
Exactly.
I think the same thing goes here. It's not that the girl that's going to play Ellie is bad. Like I've heard she's a phenomenal actress and all this stuff, and I hope she does well. But she doesn't look the part. She's got a big forehead, by the way, and that's not the really piece. I know it's, but I just noticed it when I seen the teaser. I'm like, man, she's got a big forehead, man. It's like, like it just doesn't.
Well,
I don't know. She doesn't really have that Ellie look to me. I don't know. Pedro Pascal, believe it or not, I didn't think Pedro Pascal looked like Joel at all. But in the teaser, I was like,
they made him look like Joel. Yeah,
I see it. Now I can see it a little bit.
Okay, you know what this reminds me? This duo, Pedro Pascal and the little actress. It reminds me of the Uncharted duo. Tom Holland and what's his face?
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. So you have Tom Holland, which kind of looks like Nathan Drake. Then you have fucking Mark Wahlberg, which just looks like him.
So in this case, Ellie is Mark Wahlberg.
Ellie's Mark Wahlberg. They did it. But yeah, okay. Just to close this thing out about the TV show, I think it'll be a bit better than the Uncharted movie because at least it looks like they are following the structure of the movies with this show, right? Well, in the movie, they kind of did their own thing. They added like a bunch of elements from the games, but it was really the plot was kind of original. Well, here it looks like they're following the same plot. They might have a few deviations here and there, but the plot is that the fact that I have that scene makes you understand that.
Do you think they'll ever do the Abby storyline in the show? Do you think they'll ever get to that point?
Oh snap! Well,
I know we're talking about the game and this shit, but I mean, this is Last of Us, so I mean, do you think they'll ever talk?
This is part of it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever think they'll bring
the Last of Us special?
Oh yeah.
So, well, I remember reading that they do have like a big project at the end in mind. Like they don't want to stop just at the story of the main game. They want to do Left Behind, and I guess they want to do part 2. Maybe save for season 2. Or maybe you're saying that they're gonna do it. They're not gonna do how in the games where the timeline is kind of all over the place. They go in chronological order. They could do that.
Yeah, I think I was talking to actually my boss at work. He loves the story of The Last of Us as well, and he was talking about how he feels like the first game you can make that into a couple seasons of a TV show if you wanted to do it, if you added more stuff to it. And I can see that, but see, that's what you kind of got to watch out because you don't want to get in Walking Dead territory, right?
Exactly. You don't want Walking Dead.
And I know I'm bashing the shit out of Walking Dead. Look, I'm a Walking Dead fan, man. I do love Walking Dead. I always will. But that's what happened. Like, you had this series of comics, right? And it went 192 issues, and it just ended like a couple years ago. And the thing about comic books is they're not super long. I mean, you can't, you know what I mean? They're at max, they're 17 to 20 pages an issue, max. So like with Walking Dead, they started off really strong, but then they tried to spread out that lore into the point where it got repetitive, it got samey, and the points that everybody was saying it was the same and it was repetitive. I was still liking it because I love the story, but you don't want to get in that same territory here. So like, I'm trying to think how you could do. I guess you could do like, all right. So you know how the game is split up into 4 seasons. You could do it like that, like 4 seasons of the show.
Oh.
You know, you could do that. I just thought about that. They could do that. 10 episodes, 8 to 10 episodes a season, 8 to 10 episodes a season each season. And then by the 5th season,
Consider this. You're right. Consider this though. Summer, the first chapter, whatever we're gonna call it, first act of the game is like super long. Well, all the other ones are like, I think that all the other ones together are as long as Summer. I think. So they gotta look out for that. So I can see summer being one season, but I cannot see, autumn, winter, and spring each their own season. Like, what's spring gonna look like? Because what happens in spring? They are at the bus depot. They fight to. You have like this huge boss fight with the infected, and then they're at the hospital. You can literally wrap that up in one episode if it's like an hour long.
That's true.
But they could be a good idea, So I don't know.
Yeah, but you got to think there is a little bit. Right. No, you're right. I mean, but there is a little bit of traveling between between winter and spring. So I don't know how long they traveled. Because where were they? I'm trying to think. Maybe you can remind me. Where are they at in wintertime? Like when they meet to David and the cannibals. Where are they as far as geographic? Geographic. I know that, but.
Well, what you got to understand is that my geography of the United States is really bad.
Right.
They keep like even in part 2 where they were very focusing on that, they kept throwing out these names. I had no idea. Like they keep saying, "Oh yeah, we're in this city, so we're close to Seattle." I'm like, well, I just got to take your word for it because I have absolutely no word.
Well, I mean, I do too, man. I mean, I live in the States, and I mean, I besides of Seattle, I don't know the surrounding. Areas. I was trying to think. I couldn't remember because like the game is I want to say, where does it start? It starts in Texas. I'm pretty sure. I think Joel.
Well, Texas, and it goes. He's from Texas.
And then they go to Boston. Boston is where you meet him and Tess. That's where they're smuggling. And I'm trying to think, where do they go from there?
Oh, so you go to the Capitol building. Well, they have this town that they just call Bill's Town. We don't know. We don't know which.
Yeah, we don't know where that's at. Yeah.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so here's the problem that I have. As you said, where they got to watch out for extending stuff. Because you're saying that it could show how to travel in between, winter and spring. Well, I think that the transition between winter and spring is so perfect that adding anything between it would just ruin it. Because if you remember, at the end of winter, Ellie, just snaps, kills David. Yeah. Joel comes in, he thinks he's going to rescue her, but she can't rescue herself. He comes there to comfort her. He's like, "It's all right, baby girl." And he calls her baby girl for the first time.
Yeah, that's right, he does,
Yeah. And then, scene cuts to black. And then we're back to spring. Just shows spring. And it's Ellie being kind of brooding, being kind of, very deep in thought. And I think putting anything between that would kind of, I don't know, it's redundant at best. Why do you have to show them just walking, being silent? Because the fact that she's so deep in thought, even after what we were assuming is at least weeks of travel, makes you understand that they haven't really been talking a lot throughout it, that she's been very traumatized by the experience, killing David and all.
What do you think? Go ahead. You can finish.
Well, I just wanted to say that if they try to add anything to it, it might just break this this narrative point, because like you can't just have fucking character just walking around not saying anything to each other. But if something does happen, if they do talk, that kind of diminishes the impact. It makes you think, oh, maybe Ellie's not that traumatized. He's just chatting about. So that's the thing that really worries me. But go ahead with your question.
No, I was going to say was just kind of going into Ellie killing David. What do you think affected her? I mean, I know we're getting to story now. We're not really talking about the remake. What do you think really affected her so much about killing David? Because she had blown a couple people's brains out at this point. So, like, what really affected her with David, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think more than the actual killing, it's how much he got into her head. He kind of, there's the whole thing. Well, she's kind of distressed the whole time because Joel is not there with her. She's afraid that he's gonna abandon her, as like everyone else did. She's really trying her best, and when she thinks she's getting some help, because she didn't really trust David, but he knew they were making the trade. He was gonna give her antibiotics for Joel,
right?
And then, plot twist, boom, David is actually part of that gang that have been haunting them, right?
Dude, I love that scene, by the way,
scene is
when he's sitting there. Man, Nolan North, man, Nathan Drake himself voiced that guy to perfection.
That's Nolan North?
Yeah, dude.
I have no idea.
Yeah, David is Nolan North, man. You can hear Nathan Drake a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, my God.
Man, dude. But I'm not even like a small child, and that guy creeps me the fuck out.
Holy
Like
shit.
even with these visuals, he's even
Mhm.
scarier, man. He's just like,
Oh yeah.
I think it's funny. My fella saw a madman kill about 12 guys, and you know what's funny? He had a little girl with him.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh my god. That's
no, the fuck you didn't. I don't know. Well, really
That's
interesting.
great. That will not, okay. You see, that kind of tells you what is good, writing. I can watch a scene as many times as I have to. That will always have me transfixed. Always.
Mhm.
Scene like that are just too good.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. And you're talking about the visuals too, man. Just like the way you talk about like making characters look better. David is one that they did great because he looks like way more
Uncanny.
demented.
Yeah,
he almost looks like the devil almost. Like the way he talks, like his
Yeah.
delivery, obviously that's always been good, but his
Mhm.
facial expressions are off the charts.
Yeah, he looks very tired. He has these bags under his eyes. He has his big red nose, and he kind of, in the beginning, he acts really kindly, right? He goes, "Oh, it's all right." Ellie's being all hyper protective. He's going, "Okay, cool. So, my friend, can get the things for you. What do you need? Like, we're very hungry." And throughout the entire thing, he's being, very, very thoughtful and all. And then there's a scene, and I think that what's good is that his face can be interpreted in many ways. He can look like a very tired man, but he's trying his best. But then in that scene you described, he transforms. It's the same face, but you can just interpret it in a whole different way. So I do agree. No, the character models are just perfect. Like I have no words for
right.
it.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying because that's one thing I've always found about stories like this set in apocalyptic worlds is you literally have things like clickers running around. You got runners, you have bloaters and the stalkers, and I mean every single type of infected that you have, and humans are still the pieces of shit.
Scariest, yes.
They're still the ones you have to deal with the most, who give you the most fucking problems. Because the clicker probably leave you alone as long as you don't get there. It can't see you. It can't see you. So it's like you're fine. But you always have assholes like David out there and Abby who are out there.
We're just waiting.
I know. I'm just going at her neck now. What were you gonna say, man? What were you gonna say?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but we were talking about how the AI was changed.
Right.
So just one thing that I want to say, because I think it's really cool. Do you remember when you're with Henry and Sam, you get separated? You're with Sam now, and Ellie's with Henry, and you gotta get through the sewer section, right? I don't know how much you know about this, but someone like me who play this game higher difficulties at all times, you kind of learn a few tricks, right? And one of the tricks is that part is very difficult if you try to stealth around. There are way too many infected to try to head them on, fight them onwards, unless you waste a shit ton of resources. But if you try to totally stealth, it's just very difficult. What you can do in your original game, you just run through. You can just fucking run. You run all the way to the end. You boost up Sam, and that's it. End of story. In the remake, they made it a bit harder because instead of runners, you have stalkers. And the stalkers will do. Yeah, you might run all the way to the end, but as soon as you stop, try to boost them up, they'll fucking come at you one after the other, and they'll call the clickers and everything. So they did. I feel like Naughty Dog, they kind of knew what they were doing, right? They knew that this section was getting cheesed a lot, right? So they did something about that.
Well, see, I'm not even gonna lie, man. That I love that sequence, mostly because that one, and then when you get upstairs, when you and Henry are like mowing down a bunch of infected while Sam and Ellie are outside of the building because they're trying to get the door open. Yeah. In that moment, I do go guns a-blazing because all right. So this is what I was going to tell you about getting in specifics. So I have my difficulty on Grounded Plus, but I have my ammo and resources on moderate, and the reason being is because I like to shoot shit. And I don't like going around. Now, mind you, before
it's survival horror, Dylan.
I have played. I've beaten the remaster on Grounded twice. like the normal way,
okay.
because you can't adjust that
Okay.
stuff anyway. So I have played
So you have nothing to prove. I get it.
right. So, but when I'm playing, all right. So, all right. For instance, let me paint you a little picture. Let's say you are living in this world, right? And you
Mhm.
come across a group of hunters that are just walking around, and you get spotted, right? You kill the whole team, right? You go to loot their bodies. If they are fully loaded, they have a fully loaded shotgun, they have mags. Wouldn't they
Right.
have stocks of ammo on them?
Ammo,
Wouldn't that
right.
make sense? If you
Okay.
honestly grounded plus,
Okay.
if I'm playing grounded without the resources on moderate or light, because I have played it on light before too, which by the way, there's not much difference. I've looked at it both. Like if you put it on light and you put it on moderate, they give you the same amount of resources. I've
Oh, I
noticed.
didn't know that.
But anyway, because I just wanted to test like how forgiving are they with resources. So I tried it on both, and I literally you still have to look around for everything because they're not dropping ammo like crazy. Because that wouldn't be any fun.
That would be stupid, right?
Yeah, what is this, Call of Duty? But if I kill a group of people, right? Most of the time they are armed and they have weapons. Wouldn't they have ammo on them? Wouldn't they have a mag or two on them? I feel like they would,
Right.
you know?
Well,
I feel like
okay, you're right. Okay, so we're gonna go like that. If we're gonna like do a realistic approach, then I guess you're right. But at the same time, I mean, you can just make a lot of exceptions like that. Like, how can Joel just cure like a bunch of gun wounds like all over his face, but just all over his body, but just fucking, I don't know, bandaging his wrist or whatever?
Well, yeah, but that's like video.
By that logic, so now we get
logic,
into video game logic.
No,
there
listen,
we go.
no, look,
well, in the same sense,
no, it's way more realistic, right? To come across, if I'm going up against a team of people and I kill them, it's way more realistic for me to find resources and ammunition on them than if Joel was to get shot in the head and all you gotta do is wrap up your arm and you're fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like Resident Evil, right? Have you seen gameplay for Resident Evil 7? Have you seen the gameplay for it?
I did.
But like when you heal, you're getting shot and you're dumping fucking a bottle of
whatever that is.
Yeah, you're dumping this shit on you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
okay.
There's a difference between video game logic and then like, you know.
Well, my point was that playing on higher difficulties is less about it being more realistic or more immersive or whatever. It's just more about it being more challenging, right? It's more about, okay, so this is a world where you gotta, where you cannot waste your resources, right? I know it doesn't make sense that the guy does not drop any of the ammo that they're fucking unloading on you.
Correct.
Here's the thing, but I'm not shaming you for
no, I know you're not.
Kind of
I was just trying to explain why I was doing it because one, I've beaten the game on Grounded in the remaster, but I like my favorite part of this game is the shooting, is the gunplay. So I like to feel strong when I go in there. Now I'm not saying I got to be stocked. Like at one point in my revolver, I think I had like 6 rounds in it, so it's not like they're throwing ammo at you. But I like to feel like if I kill somebody and like you say, if they're unloading on me, that I should be able to pick up what they got.
Okay, no, I get it. I mean, if that's the way you like to play, then I get it. I kind of, I don't know. I really like the whole survival thing. I don't know, just my thing. As you said, I don't like going very guns akimbo on the enemies. I like getting the stealth approach. I like the feeling that, I start a fight, I see how many rounds I have on my revolver, and at the end of the fight, I killed all the enemies, and I still have the same number of rounds. I find it so satisfying. Like I didn't fire a single bullet.
No, okay. So it's just like a preference thing.
That's just me. Yeah, just a preference.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about this accessibility features. Because I gotta admit, I did the same thing you did. Because I was playing on survival, but I did lower it down to like medium, moderate, whatever it's called. Because there is this one trophy where you gotta upgrade the one weapon to the max. And I was not sure if I was going to get enough parts in one playthrough on Survivor, so I kind of lowered it down just to be on the safe side. I probably would have, but
But see, the only thing I don't like about like on Grounded, like I said, the main thing is just I get what you're saying. Like if you're talking about like a game, like a video game, video game logic, Joel healing himself when he gets shot in the face, just wrapping a bandage around his arm. I get what you're saying, but I also find it unrealistic that if a guy is literally locked and loaded and I let's say I sneak up on him and I choke him out and he doesn't drop anything. I'm like, What the? You know, I mean, I'm like, see, here's the thing. Like, even though I'm playing it on moderate to light, you know, I kind of go in between both of them. There's really no difference.
Mhm.
Like, I'll go like for every like 10 people I kill, 4 of them might have resources on them, and it's
so
like,
it's still
yeah, it's still like you
Still
have
like
to pick.
that.
You still have to go around and scrounge. It's not like they're just dropping.
that's the name of the
bags
game,
and-
right?
I think honestly, like Naughty Dog did a good job of, even though if you bring that level down, you do have a good bit of resources. They're not just like throwing ammo at you either. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a survival horror game. And like I know that hopefully by October we can do our Resident Evil show. We can talk about that. I think you would love that, and I love it too. Don't get me wrong, I love Resident Evil 2. That game is definitely more survival. Like, every shot counts. Like, you can't, you know, Last of Us is a little bit different because you're in an apocalyptic world, so most people are already armed. In Resident Evil 2, it's only you, and then you got the dead. It's not like you're fighting human survivors, so every shot really does count, you know. And I love that. I love that aspect. But when I'm playing a post-apocalyptic game and most everybody's armed, and I'm over here and I kill like 10 people, and that's one I tried Grounded Plus on the grounded difficulty, and like I hated like not having any. Like, I had like one round in my revolver, and then that was pretty much it. Like, maybe one shotgun shell, and I'm like, dude, that's bullshit. There's no way. You got people firing at me, and I just
like,
that's bullshit.
Yeah, like the sniper, you know, he just keeps fucking firing at you. By the way, he's way more aggressive in this remake. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, the sniper for when you're with Henry and Sam.
Yeah, when Henry and Sam. He just keeps shooting at. I don't know how many bullets has this guy got. It's just keeps shooting. It keeps going.
Yeah.
Like, it's no
I see you.
I see. That was great. Yeah, no. There's another one where you could just cheat in the original game. You can just cheese it. You can just fucking run. He'll never get you. Here, he fires 3 bullets in like I don't know, about 5 seconds.
Yeah, and if you're inside one of the houses scrounging around for resources, he can see you in there too. So
you gotta, like, he fucking shot me dead once. Yeah, like through a window. It's incredible.
Yeah, but that sequence is so much fun though, because you're dodging the sniper while also he has his goons running at you too. Yeah, so you kind of like you're going around John Wick and these guys, and then crouching. Now, I will say I love doing stealth in that part, especially because they're looking all over for you, and just going out and killing each one by one, trying to find you. That it's very satisfying. Like, the stealth is like really, really great in this game. I just liked it because I'm Joel. Like, for Ellie, it makes more sense, right? Ellie, she's small, she's nimble, she's fast, but she's tiny. She's not gonna like run up on somebody and like bare knuckle these guys. Joel, he's strong. He's gonna run over there, and I like throwing the punches. Like, they haven't changed that much at all, besides maybe just making it a little cleaner. I did notice that it is a little bit more like, you know, go with the gameplay. Joel moves way more smoother. So when you're throwing those haymakers, it's just way more like.
Oh yeah, the animations are smoother. Yeah, that is right. There was a bit of stuttering in the original, a bit of jank. I do agree. Yeah. Speaking of Ellie being supposedly the nimble one, you know, the stealthy one, I think that's bullshit, because at least on higher difficulties, I cannot get a stealth kill with Ellie. Like, I can, but you know the sound effect that plays when you get discovered, that pam. Like, I cannot. Every time I go for a stealth kill, I think I got away with it, but as soon as I fucking shiv him, I knife his throat. They go, oh, that's who she is. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if I'm just playing bad, or do you have this problem? Like, every time I play as Ellie.
Yeah, well, so I haven't got to the actually no, that's not true. I just got to the Ellie section of my second playthrough. When I played it through on hard, I didn't really have any issues. Then again, I still played stealthy, but when I got the rifle, I was a little less stealthy, because I love after I changed, like I was telling you before, after I changed the reticle from the circle to the dot, man, it was such a game changer, and it was so satisfying to get those headshots, man. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop doing it. I tried, like, I was playing the stealthy game, like throwing a brick over here and then run over there, and I go right behind them. I did that a lot, but man, if I could shoot him, I would. So I I got myself killed a lot by just being more rash because you get so used to
Mhm.
playing as Joel, and then when you go as Ellie, Ellie is so small she can't, because even in Last of Us
Mm.
Part 2, she can fight back a little bit, but
Oh,
in this
much
game she
more.
can't. Yeah,
Well, this
yeah,
game, well, the cheese threat when you're playing with Ali, right? You just have a bottle. If you throw a bottle, you can just knife them. You throw a ball at them, and they're like stunned. You can knife them down.
Well, you know what? Now that you
Mhm.
mention that, I'll say this, and then we can get more into our list, so we can get through this a little bit.
Mhm.
The David boss fight, that was really
He,
really easy,
he's
really
waste.
easy.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, I
I
thought it was
thought it was
easy, man.
hard. He's much
I thought it was hard.
smarter.
He's
Yeah,
fast.
he's fast. Not only that, but he makes like a lot of sudden turns, which he did not in the original. Maybe it's a difficulty thing. Maybe when we get to it on Grounded, you'll notice some differences. But I was playing on Survivor, and this guy, this fight's kind of routine for me. Like I already know, okay, he's gonna go there. I'll just go after him. He fucking turns around before I even realize what's going on, and he goes,
Yeah,
"There you were,"
yeah,
and starts shooting
yeah.
you.
Hey, there you are. Yeah, but what I noticed was, and maybe you can remind me, in the original game, can you throw
Mhm.
like bottles and bricks at him?
Yes.
Can you throw bottles and bricks?
Add
Oh, you
him.
can.
Add him. I don't know if you
Yeah,
can
at
add him.
him.
You can throw them, but I don't know. I never
You
tried.
can. So you can do it in this game. You can, and see
Oh,
that helped
and
me.
it stuns
That
him.
helped me. That helped me beat him really quick. I did it like really fast. Like I hit him, and then you can go right behind him, stab him, and it does like a little
Right, right,
cutscene,
right.
and then you go back and hide, and he'll run after you. And if you can hurry up and find a bottle and throw it at his ass again, it stuns him, and you go over there and stab him. I beat him fairly quick, like
I
really
had no.
quickly.
Okay, so that would have made it easy for me too. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Especially like in
yeah,
the third phase when he starts, creeping around. He starts, crouching.
yeah,
Well, I'll
yeah.
definitely do it on my next. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you can
giving me a
straight
lot of
up.
advice for my next ones.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Main things is, and I'm sure you're a lot like me in this retrospect. I turn auto aim off. I just don't. I don't play that shit.
Mm.
I want it me.
That
You know what I
throws
mean?
me off a lot of times.
Yeah, dude. Me too.
Mm.
I don't think you could turn that off. I don't think you could turn that off in the remaster. I think there was
You
always
cannot do
auto aim on.
you cannot do shit in the remaster. There's like no accessibility features.
See, that's bullshit, man. Why are they
Mhm.
making me? Why are they holding my hand? Like I want to be able, when I kill somebody, I do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I love that feeling of being able to line up the perfect shot and know I did that.
Yeah, well, I don't mind in some shooters. Like I don't know, maybe Returnal comes to mind, but it's very hectic. There's like a bunch of enemies. You're mostly thinking about focusing on like dodging and finding the right moment to attack, to shoot. In those games, I don't mind it as much. But yeah, the last one is, like you said, it's very methodic. It's very slow. This is my gig, right? I know what I'm doing, so I don't need the game. Besides, they always, when you have auto aim on, they never auto aim on the headshot because it would be broken. So you always have to wrestle against the game because the game kind of wants you to shoot at them like in the torso or something. But you go, no, I want a headshot. You gotta
Want the
wrestle
headshot,
with it.
man. I will say,
Mhm.
man, I did love shooting the enemies in the legs because one, they'd react to leg shots, and
They
I
do.
used to love shoot them in the leg
Mhm.
and then just sprint towards them and boom, like you just hit the
Fuck
lane,
them
like
up.
the finishing shot, man. I'm so addicted to that feeling, man.
Have you tried shooting an infected in the leg?
Yeah, they drop and
Yeah,
they start crawling at you, right?
they started crawling at you. That scared me so much.
Yeah, dude.
I think I
It's an
died to
awesome
that
touch.
once. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
dude,
did.
it's
Yeah.
an awesome touch. Awesome touch. Resident Evil does that, and I wonder, did they do that in part 2? Do you remember if
Yes.
they did do that?
It's
I
just
love that.
one of the many things they transferred from part 2.
Yeah,
Speaking
that's like
of,
attention to detail, man. I love that.
yeah, speaking of, another thing they added from part 2 is bloaters. They rush you now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I've
and
died a
that's
couple times. A
Mhm.
couple times, man.
and that's where a dodge would be pretty useful because in part 2,
Oh,
all right,
man.
bloaters got this new thing where they rush you, but you can dodge out, right? In part 1, you can do that. Bloaters are they're faster than Joel almost, but you can't dodge them. So speaking of the final section with infected, there are like 3 bloaters, like in Spring,
Yeah,
like right before the Firefly Lab. They changed the layout a bit. Like there used to be 3 bloaters, all 3 of them right at the back, just waiting for you. Now there's just 2 of them, and when you see it, I'm like, oh shit, where the fuck is the third one? the third one is walking around. That part was pretty scary. So what I'm trying to get at, I think there are some things for old players as well. I mean,
Right.
I enjoyed the remake. That's what I'm trying to get at, guys.
Yeah. I think overall I did. I'll go through my list real quick, just so because we talked about a lot of
That's
them.
it.
But visuals, that these are my pros. The visuals, obviously, like the facial expressions. Like I told you, that those few scenes that I pointed out, they were like, even though I've seen them before, it added way more to the scene. And I'm a story guy. I went to school to be a literature major, and so I love stories and stuff. So when you can tell a lot about a story just by the people in the scene, and they don't have to say anything at all. Just the facial expressions are like top notch. I think it's some of the best facial animations in a game. Period. I mean, I think that's pretty easy to say. You know?
Yes.
Would you agree?
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, gameplay is smoother. Like I said, I do think gameplay, the way Joel moves is a lot smoother, obviously, but the gunplay still feels kind of like one, but it's like refined to part two. But I feel like part two's gunplay is better, and maybe you feel differently about that. I'm gonna play through part two again in the near future, and I'll kind of get back to you on that and let you know what I think. But attention to detail, I mentioned that before. Stuff like getting on the scale, like a scale, like you're trying to see what your weight is. You can get on the scales in this game when you're looting houses, and it'll tell you exactly how much Joel
No, are you for real?
Yeah, no, yeah,
I did not notice that.
You didn't notice that?
I did not notice that.
You're going to have to go back and play it now.
I definitely have to. Yeah, you're just fucking, you're done playing me here. Like, I thought I was a shit. I thought that was one of all the notes, but you're just fucking overshadowing me. One thing that I did notice.
Scale on the floor, man. Go to the scales. Any of the scales, it'll tell you how much he weighs. I think he weighs like 205 or something. I think is what it said. It's like really small. Yeah.
Let me just check real quick. Oh, that's right. Well, that's not small. That's like 205, like what, pounds?
Yeah, pounds, yeah.
Oh, that's not. Well, I mean, that's a lot more than what I weigh. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, he's pretty.
He's a big guy. It's all muscles, I think, right?
Yeah,
it's all muscles.
I put that which this is kind of like a Last of Us in general, but I feel like the music. I forgot how good the music was. The soundtrack for this game is far superior than part two. Not that part two doesn't have music in it, because I have music from part two downloaded to my phone as well, but that Last of Us, like the original Last of Us score, is beautiful.
I do agree on that. I'm one of the guys that I kind of prefer part two, but the music in part one is just incredible. Like, the very last scene, where Ellie goes, swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true. And then there's like a little riff with a classic guitar.
And Joel's like, I swear, and then it cuts to black. Yeah, dude.
Okay, and so scene, good. And that's it. Yeah, you don't need to see anything else. Yeah,
so beautiful. Of course, the story, mostly pertaining between the dynamic between Joel and Ellie is, I think, is why I prefer this game so much more over the second one. And I will say, and I think I'll leave that for the last little part of this show, as I do kind of want to talk about how this has made me feel about the second one. But I'll get into that in a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, the story is touching between those two characters. I love that. I think I talked about on our last show. I'm not a dad yet, but that really the dynamic between them two is just it's heartwarming, man. To see how much Joel cares for Ellie, especially by the end of the game, and he's putting his life on the line to save her, and then to pretty much keep her from sort of fulfilling her destiny almost. Like, she wanted to give up her life for this possible cure, and then he couldn't stand living in a world without her. I mean, that shit's
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is that with their relationship, right, their bond growing, Joe also kind of reattached himself to humanity, right? So I think like losing this kind of bond he had with this person he's protecting, we kind of make him go back into the darkness he was at the beginning of the game, and just he was just not ready for that. It was a very selfless choice, but it is beautiful in a way. It is beautiful the reason why he does it, but the acting itself, I think, is very, very, very selfish. Very, that's one thing that I really like about the game. Just like how the characters are just so morally gray, right? You empathize with them so much, but they're not doing the right thing. And you think about, well, I probably wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. That's I think that's
you wouldn't what?
Like if I were there, if I were Joel, like there's this moment where the leader of the Fireflies, Marlene, she goes, okay, so you acted on impulse. You can still fix this. Just leave the girl here. We'll forget about this. Just go your way. We won't come after you. Just please, just do this for humanity, right? And he just cannot. He chooses Ellie over the world. And if you think in a macrocosm, it's probably not the right thing, right? Pragmatically speaking, but and it makes you think, because you would expect that he would, right? You expect that he would choose sacrifice over it, but he doesn't. He acts like a normal human being. He doesn't act like a hero. That's what I kind of loved about Joe. And I do agree that the first game does a much better job at balancing, lighter teams and darker teams than the second one does. The second one is kind of it's very dark the whole way through. Well, the first one also has these light spots, with how Joel and Ellie interact. Before the whole Sam and Henry debacle, there are scenes of them bonding. There are scenes of them having fun, having some humanity. So I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think that the decision that Joel makes at the end of the game is just he made a love decision. Like I don't think that I don't really see how I don't think any person, I was gonna say any man, but really any person could, especially between the attachment that he had gotten for Ellie up to that point, that he could just like let her die. Like for me, if it's a choice between saving someone I love and the rest of the world, I mean, look how the world is a beautiful place, right? And this is a deeper conversation, but when you talk about The Last of Us, it's a deep story. It's a all right. So Eric, I've seen somebody make the comparison. So the Last of Us is a simple story, right? Like you have a girl who got infected, but she's immune to, as far as like changing and turning into, one of the infected. Like she got bit, but she's not infected, kind of thing. And she's sort of a cure, and you're having to pretty much take her ass to someone to make the cure. It's a very simple story. I've seen that before. I've seen that in movies, a lot of bad movies, by the way.
It's a trope.
But I've seen it. I've seen that trope before. But it's the character moment. It's Joel and Ellie's dynamic and them coming closer to almost like they were blood. It's almost like family, and seeing where Ellie came from, where she feels like everybody she's ever came into contact has either left or died, and then where Joel is in that same boat, like everybody he's ever been attached to, he's done some horrible things, and that's something I find interesting that I would love for them to explore in another game. They probably won't ever do it because I know Naughty Dog hates Joel. They hate Joel. I have my reason for thinking they hate Joel, but I'll get in that later.
You'll expand it later, for sure.
But I think they hate Joel, man. Anyway, I'll get in that in a minute.
All right.
I think they absolutely hate him. I have
Where is
my
it
reason.
coming from?
So I don't think they'll ever do another game with him and Tommy, because him and Tommy got into some really bad stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, you see by that. Yeah,
I agree, but I don't think it's because they hate Joel.
I think they definitely do. Did you hear? Okay, so we're getting off on a tangent, but I'll bring it up really quick, and then I'll go into my mix, and then I'll let you finish up with your list.
Sure.
Did you hear? And again, I don't mean to bring politics into this. That's not what I'm doing. But
lay it on.
Naughty Dog is a very left-wing company, and that's fine. Look, whatever you want to do,
right.
that's whatever. I don't care. You believe whatever you want to believe, but. Did you know that when they were outlining the story of this game, they wanted a strong female lead, and they wanted a strong female lead. Yeah, they wanted a strong female lead to take care of a transsexual young person. I swear to God, you can look it up. I swear to God, you can look it up.
Abby? So Abby.
Yes.
So,
when Naughty Dog came to Sony or the one or the other, I'm pretty sure Naughty Dog came to Sony about it. Sony said, "I don't think that how they use it. It sounded borderline.
It's not going to resonate to the audience.
Yeah, it sounded like something like that. Like if you do that, this game's not going to sell. It's just not. You know what I mean?
Well,
so they were
probably right. I mean,
they were sort of in a way, I don't know, forced, but they were pretty much made to create Joel and then Ellie. And you come to find out, like with them making these characters, they're some of the most iconic characters in media in general. Like not just games. We're talking farther than that. We're talking just in literature. We're talking about in just storytelling in general, like in art. They're some of the best characters ever made. But you see what they did in the second one. It's almost like Sony was like, okay, your game sold really, really well, so now we're going to let you do what you want to do. And again, I'm not. Look, here's the thing. Here's Jan. I want you to understand this. I'm not mad that they focus on some newer characters. That's not my issue. Okay. I've never had that problem. My problem
is that they killed Joel.
Is you should, well, yes, but you should have gave me a second game before this one to get me to know Abby. To get me to know I can't remember what the kid's name is.
Lev.
But let me get to know Lev. Let me get to know these characters, okay? If you let me get to know them and then you pull a 180 and let's say Abby finds out, we're getting really off topic here. We're still talking about
I like where we were going.
No, this is called a Last of Us show. So fuck it. We're talking about the Last. If they would have gave me another game where I got to know Abby and I got to let's leave Lev out of this because Lev is a very small character compared to Abby. Okay, let's just talk about Abby. Okay, if you would have gave me another game to love Abby, I think Abby is not a bad character. She's not badly written. I just can't get I can't get attached to her because of what she did. It doesn't matter. She's a good character. She is. But you killed Joel, and now you got to play as this cunt for half the game. And my thing is, if you would have just gave me another game, give me a game before you kill off Joel, and let me have an adventure with her, and then fine. I'm fine. I'll probably still be mad, but I would be better with it. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing, though. I think we had the exact same conversation way back when the game came out. Remember, you were like hating on, well, not hating on it, but you were like being very vocal about, your how you felt about it. And I was like, all right, I was really curious because I loved it on my end. I was like, okay, let's have this. And you said the same thing. You said, I want a second game in between these two when I get to know Abby. Well, and then I told you, the same thing I'm going to tell you now, that it kind of would have ruined the whole thing for me for two reasons. Okay, let's leave out the entire narrative part of it. I think that if they started making games like that, like especially The Last of Us, where they start making games or even stories in a structure where they have sequels in mind, that would ruin it for me. Because what I like about the stories, they're kind of self-contained. So saying, oh, we're going to introduce characters in this one, and then we're going to have her do this major plot twist in the third one, that goes too much into fucking, I don't know, Fast and Furious territory to me. Too much into fucking MCU territory, right? Where they just plan out this whole franchise. What I like is they go all out when they're thinking of a story. They design an entire story, and that's one full game, right? There's no, well, maybe in the next one. There's no in the next one. Everything that I want to do, everything that they decide to do, they do it in this one game. So that's my first problem, what you just said, right? Because they decided to, because I get it, right? I get what you're trying to say, that maybe it would have been better, right? You would feel more betrayed, you would feel more conflicted, because you already love the character.
Well, hold on, let me cut you off real quick. Let me interject, and I'll let you finish. All right, okay, how about this? If they made The Last was, and maybe don't even call it part 2, right? I get what you're saying. Like Fast, there's like a ton of those now, right? So I get what you're saying. But like, if they did another Last of Us story with another group of characters, and they didn't let you know to like maybe like the very end that it somehow connects with. I'm not saying you gotta have like a Marvel cameo come out the wood. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is maybe by the end of the game, Abby says, somebody gives her intel that the person she's looking for is in Jackson. And so she goes to Jackson, and the final shot of the game is her overlooking the mountainside in the wintertime in part 2, where she's looking over at Jackson. And then it cuts to black, and that's the end of the game. So I think that would have been kind of cool. In a way, I know that's kind of Hollywood as well. I get that, but at the same time,
It is very Hollywood.
If you would have let me, like that was one thing I wanted to be growing. And I mean, I still got time, but I always wanted to be like a director because I think I could do it as far as like really carrying on a story. And I know that's kind of Hollywood, maybe even a little bit of cheesy, but I've been fine with that because it's like, okay, we've seen her, we've gotten to know Abby. We kind of know what's going on. Her dad dies. We don't know who killed her. And then by the end, killed him, excuse me. And then you find out by the end that it kind of illuminates that Joel is the killer of her dad. And honestly, I would have been like, okay. And the thing about it is, I don't want you to think like the story of the game is like, I get why she wanted to kill him. I'm not disagreeing there, right? It's a story of revenge. I get it. But I'm just saying, I think if you would have gave me more time, I probably would have been fine. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. No. I'm glad you said this because, again, this thing you proposed to me, like I don't like shutting down all your ideas, but I don't like what you described to me right now. That's exactly what I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want the game to end on a to be continued.
Right.
It's just think of how The Last of Us Part 1 ended, right? It ended in such a way that I didn't even think it could have a sequel. I think it's just a perfect story. It doesn't really need anything added onto it, right?
Yeah.
It ends with this fairy tale. Like, what are you gonna add onto it, right? Joel did what he did, right? He just lied to Ellie, and that's the whole story. It's a story with a lot of mixed feelings that you don't need to say anything. You know exactly what each of them is thinking, and that's it. Having in some way, imagine in the first game they somehow what's the word? They previewed, right? They somehow alluded to Abby, like the final shot of the last one. Instead of having the final great scene, right after it, there's a shot of like Abby finding her dad on the floor, right? And then going, "Oh, I'm gonna get the fuck who did this," and then they show credits. That's cheesy as fuck to me.
Oh yeah, well I wouldn't love that. I wouldn't love that. I wouldn't say that like, I wouldn't want that. I'm just like, but the ending that I said again, like if you gave me some time, I maybe could have make it more natural. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like make it an end credit scene. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like you could play it naturally into the story. I trust in these writers at Naughty Dog that they could make it more natural.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay. So I will give you that point. They probably could have made it work somehow where it's not a 50-50 split where you play as Ellie and then you play as Abby. Maybe they could have, interwoven it somehow. I will agree with you on that. Or maybe you play as Abby first. I will agree with you on that one. But I think is that the whole point, and you might not like it, but the whole spiel of that is that you have to hate her, right? The game they really want you to hate Abby, and then while you play with her, right? You slowly warm up to her, and it clearly didn't work on you. You clearly hated her until the very end. Like you understood her, but you don't like her, and you're not alone. Obviously, there are a lot of people who think like you.
Yeah. But you got people that are like straight up like just nasty about it, and I'm not one of those guys. Like I don't. That's not
what I meant. No.
But yeah.
No. What I meant, people like you, people that like understand like what's going on. They understand it, but it's still like from the heart, right? You cannot just think about it rationally. Like this bitch killed Joel. You cannot just expect me to forgive her. I think that's kind of the point, because like I personally, it's not like I warm up to her. It's not like I like Abby, as a person. But it did leave me conflicted because there's a whole scene where Abby and Ellie have this face-off, right? And then you're thinking, oh shit, I can't wait for Ellie to fucking kill this bitch, right? And then the game goes back, you play as Abby until this very point. And at this point, as much as I still didn't like Abby, I did not want Ellie to kill her. Because I was thinking about Lev, right? I was thinking about how all of this is just such a tragic scenario, right? And nobody really wants. And the final scene, there's like Ellie and Abby, they're just like, killing each other. It was like a Clockwork Orange experience to me. I was like there, fucking pressing the buttons not to get a game over. I was like, please guys, stop. Like there's nothing left of both of you. Just let it go, right? These guys are like going on empty, just fueled only by revenge. And as you said, Red Dead 2 maybe did it better, and they could have done it a bit more. They didn't have to risk it so much. You could have maybe have met Miyabi before, but I don't know. It worked for me. It maybe didn't work for everyone. It worked for me because if I didn't hate her as much, the whole thing would have impacted me in the end, right? Because there's the thing, like the inner conflict. I felt just like that. I was like, Ellie, I get it. I hate her as much. But that scene where she kills Joel, dude. Okay, you might say that I hate Joel and that's why they killed him. They made him go with a bang. Like honestly, that's okay. It's very brutal. It's not very deserving of a great character, but they did pull all the heartstrings, right? They really knew how much players liked that character, and they made that scene in such a way to really evoke a sensation of hatred in you.
Well, do you think that it's a do you think it was to pull on heartstrings, or was it for shock value? Because I think shock value for me, I feel like it was more for, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
I wasn't. Well, I didn't feel anything. Kind of when I saw it, so like, all right, so I didn't. All right, so I did a good job, right? I did not. I kind of avoided the leaks. There was like a rumor going around that Joel was going to die in part 2, but I was like, okay,
it was unavoidable, you know. Yeah.
If he dies, whatever. It's Ellie's story, so it makes sense. Well, when I see it happen, more when I saw it, I was like, all right, well, that sucks. See, I'm kind of desensitized to that kind of stuff. Like, people crying over that shit. Like, I didn't really understand it. And if you cry, I'm not making fun of people that cry at media. I'm just saying I don't understand how I wasn't crying because I wasn't sad. I was just more like, really, Naughty Dog, really? Well, where are we going with this? You know what I mean?
Really?
So when I saw
like it.
Yeah, no, I don't like because all right. So here's the reason why I don't like it. It's very reminiscent of Walking Dead. It looks like to me they went into Walking Dead's book and they said, "Hey, let's do that."
Negan.
That's what reminded me. Really, it wasn't as like graphic. It wasn't as like flashy because Negan's like little pig, and bam, you know, he's like got the bat and he's like, oh, vampire bat, and man, did y'all? I'm sorry, you trying to speak? I just knocked your eye out, and it's fucking gross. Like, you know, he says stuff like that while killing somebody. But like the way it happened, you know, she's coming out with the golf club, and then this guy that looks like Neil Druckmann, the director of the game, he comes up to Joel and goes, "Burn in hell, pendejo," and spits on him. And I'm like,
that's pushing it. The guy looks like Neil Druckmann.
Yeah, he looks like Neil Druckmann. He's got I think Neil cut his hair now, but
he did.
The dude had like the fucking man.
Oh no!
You got a whole conspiracy for this. Oh my god!
Burn in hell, pendejo. What kind of shit is that? What do you don't even know Joel? Like, why are you even saying this right now? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he kind of is. Well, it made sense to me in context. Like he kind of doomed humanity if you think about it.
He did, and look, and also too, I'm not blind to the fact that Joel crossed a lot of people, and he did a lot of bad. I'm not saying the dude didn't deserve to die. I'm not saying that. As many as people he crossed, him and Tommy both. Like, you see a little bit of what him and Joel did because, like, when Tommy and we're getting to The Last of Us Part 2 now, so we just pretty much said fuck the remake, huh? When Tommy leaves Jackson and he tells his wife, "Do not let Ellie, you know, come out of here. You know, you lock her away if you have to." You know what I mean? And when he leaves and they're following his tracks, you see like these like bodies of people piling up, and you're seeing these people like with a throat slit and limbs cut off and all this shit. And you're like, and Dina was like, "Damn," and Ellie was like, "Yep, this is Tommy's work." And Dina's like, "This was Tommy?" And he's like, "Yeah, him and Joel did a lot of bad shit in the back in the day." And you see like how mutilated these bodies were, like trying to get answers out of these guys. And so you know that Joel and Tommy did a lot of fucked up shit. Like eventually it was going to catch up. Eventually, you know what I mean? It just you don't do that to that many people, and there's no recompense for it. There's no consequences. I feel like there's always somebody standing behind that door waiting for you, and especially with all the people they fucked over. It's like all right, we go back to the remake, right? When Joel and Ellie are driving in the truck, and that guy, it looks like he's just like some survivor. He's like, "Help! I'm hurt. I'm starving." And Ellie's like, "We should help him." And Joel's like, "No." And Ellie's like, "Why?"
He ain't even hurt.
And floors it. You know, like Joel knows this shit, man. Because he's done it.
Yeah, he's been both sides. Yeah. Well, Well, it's just like you say. I think Joel said it best, right? It's called luck, and it's gonna run out.
It's going to run out eventually.
So yeah. Well, okay. So how do I don't know where to start. So first off, you said about people crying at the Joel scene. What I tried to say when I said it's like pulling the heartstring, I didn't mean that it made me cry. It didn't make me emotional the way that it was like. It wasn't a sad scene. It made me furious. It made me angry, right? It's not this character that I really cared about, right? And they mutilated him. They kept fucking whacking him while Ellie was just begging them to stop, right? I think that's what goes through to me. I was like, the entire scene, I was like, oh shit, I'm tracking this Abby person down, and giving a taste of her own medicine, see how she likes it, right? This whole time, it kind of fueled me the same way that Ellie. I think that's why I like part 2, because I really resonated with Ellie, right?
Yeah, like on her mission, like you want.
Yeah.
You rooting for her, like you want her to go find her. Like I get that, like that. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah, I wasn't sad about it. I was just that's what I think is done well. I fucking
you're like let's go find this.
Angry. Yeah, exactly. And then, as you said, then you play to her struggle. I'm like, damn, I don't know what to believe in anymore, right? I don't know. Like, what's the point? Like, and at the end of it all, you're like, what's the point of anything, right? Why am I doing like? She hates this person, I hate that person, and they're just killing each other all the time. But we talked about this, yeah. So
what I'll say just to get it back to the remake is I think after beating it and then playing through it again, it's really made me appreciate Joel and Ellie's relationship, even going into part 2. And I was gonna say the thing I was gonna wait till later on in the show to talk about was after finishing the first one, I like the second one better. I like the second one's story better than I did. I wouldn't say I like it better than the first one, but I like it better. And the reason why is because I remembered a lot more scenes in it than I guess I forgot about. Like a lot of the last scene between Ellie and Joel before. So you get to the end of the game and Ellie's missing 2 fingers and she tries to play the guitar, and that was the last thing that she had as a connection to Joel. And she couldn't even do that anymore. And it's very morbid and upsetting. But then it goes to, I think it shows the flashback before or after that. And she goes up on the porch and tells him it's unfair. Yeah, tells him it's unfair what the choice he made. And the thing he says to her, said, if God gave me another chance, that I would do it exactly the same every time. Like it didn't matter how many chances. And I love that scene because she's like, I can't ever forget you, but I can try. And you talk about facial expressions. That game is just as good. And seeing Joel holding back these tears, like I would like that. Man, that hits so fucking hard.
That scene is just
because now going back and playing the first one and seeing these moments again, it's made me love it. Because another scene would be when she's choking Abby underneath the water at the very end of the game, their last fight.
Yes,
and she's holding Abby's head underneath the water, choking, and she sees Joel on the porch playing the guitar. Ellie stopped. And because what it's trying to show you is Ellie would not want her to be on this revenge kick that she's been on. Look how many people have died. Look how many people she's lost. And that brings me to another thing, right? Tommy. Another reason I don't like part 2 that much is I think Tommy was out of character. He was the biggest fucking asshole. Yeah, dude. He's like he like comes in there. Ellie's living a good life with Dina. Got a family life. Everything's perfect. He comes in there. Hey, my guys, we found where Abby's at on this map. And she's like, I don't want no part of that, right? She's being smart.
Yeah.
I got a beautiful woman at home. I got a kid, and we're all fine. He's like, oh, really? That's what you're gonna do? You just gonna let this slide? Like, man, fuck you, Tommy. Like, if Joel should come back from the dead and gut that guy from the waist up, like that is his fucking daughter you're talking to. You're pretty much telling her to put herself on the line, and you put her in danger. You know how Ellie is. Ellie's compulsive. Ellie is more of like action first, think later kind of people. Like, and you just trying to get her to go out there and get herself. I know she's tough, but I mean, come on, dude.
No, you're completely. Well, if anything, she doesn't get killed. At the very least, she will lose this beautiful family, as you say.
Lose everything.
And she does lose everything. And Tommy dies, I think, doesn't he?
Who?
At some point, I don't remember.
Who's that?
Tommy?
No, he doesn't die.
He doesn't die. Oh,
no.
well. Oh,
No,
wow.
he makes it. So he gets shot. He gets shot in the back of the head by Abby.
Right, and
you're like, oh
somehow
shit.
lives.
You're like, yeah, somehow lives. I don't know how the hell,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
It's not like
That's one thing that I will give, like, all the part 2 haters, I will give them a point to that. The entire Tommy debacle, as you said, completely out of character for him to act this way. Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense for him to want to take revenge of Joel at the beginning, but the extents he goes to, like the desperation in him, like, I get it, he's like a broken man, but it's not like he lost everything, right? I don't understand why he's so hell bent on it, and also the fact that he fucking lives through, like if you go back and look at the cutscene, he gets fucking shot right in the head.
right
Like,
in the back.
it doesn't graze him. He gets fucking shot in the brain, dude.
No.
Right, yeah. It's kind
Exactly.
of. And you
Yeah,
don't have like
it's
modern medicine, so I don't know what.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know Jackson is a pretty decent community. I mean, they've come a long way, but yeah, they don't have modern medicine. It's not like you have a I mean, you'd have to put him in intensive care. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna
get the fucking
even
bull out of his brain.
Even if you do keep him alive, he'll probably. I mean, honestly, and I don't mean to sound really morbid, he'd be a vegetable probably. You know, because it's probably hitting all the central nerves. I mean, it's no way. And he's maybe it fucked with him bad. Maybe that's why he went in the house and was like, "You need to go out there and kill that bitch that killed my brother." It's like,
no. Well, that kind of makes more sense, don't it? He got fucking. He went Mr. High. He went fucking.
Yeah, but I do
stupid, but yeah.
I do love. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna go back and play part 2 again, and I do think that I love the story. I like the story more, but that Tommy shit, I'll never be okay with, because I just don't feel like it was out of character. And if Tommy loves Joel, he would have never pushed Ellie to do what she did. He would have never done it. I really don't believe it. I feel like I know Tommy, and I would have loved the little like DLC or a game with Tommy too, because I think he would have been a great character to follow. But after watching part 2, it's like, after seeing the cutscenes of part 2, it's like, man, you know. But to go back into the remake real quick, because we kind of got off on a tangent there. Just finish that up. I did like part 2. I do like part 2 a lot better, but I'm gonna play through it again, and maybe on a future show I'll see if I feel any differently about it. All right, here's my mixed bag for stuff for the remake, and then I'll let you finish up your list, and then we can get ready to close it on up if you're ready.
Hear it.
So my mixed bag: exploration. I feel like there's a lot of empty buildings or buildings that are closed off, and I know that's how it was in the original game. But when I'm thinking of a remake, you could have opened up those houses, put a little bit more shit in there, like just maybe some more Easter eggs. I mean, hell, at least let me have more resources, maybe more encounters. Maybe there's a boss fight in a basement somewhere, something like that, just to pad out the game a little bit more. I mean, does that make sense to you? Just put a little bit more in the game?
Yeah, make it like part 2 Seattle, right? You had this future. Well, not that big, but maybe something, right?
Yeah, just give me a few, like Bill's Town, for instance, right? There's only maybe like 2, maybe 3 buildings you can go into, but there's like rows of buildings. You could at least open up a few of them to go into.
And there's only one of them that's like actually interesting, right? There's this one building where you go in, you hear like a sound. You think there's like an infected inside, and as soon as you go in, Ellie goes, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you going in there?" And he goes, "Well, maybe there's something useful."
Yeah,
and there is, right? Yeah, there is a runner. You can kill him, and then you get like a bunch of shit as a reward. I wish there was more of that.
Yeah, although it doesn't make much sense, because when you go up to the door is like moving and shit, and the runner's upstairs. So what did he like? Was he banging on the door a little bit, and then he just ran upstairs?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Another thing I put mixed was, all right, I mentioned that not having a dodge. That's more of a mix for me. It's not exactly a negative, because you can play the game with no dodge, but it would have been appreciated. I don't care about a prone, though. I don't know how much I would have used that, even if I was given the ability, because I didn't use prone a whole lot in part 2. So,
well, the thing is that if they would have implemented that, they would have to change a lot of the like layouts of the levels, because in part 2 it's kind of made to prone. There are a lot of places where you can like go under cars and shit like that. Part 1 doesn't have that, right? So they would have to really work the entire levels to add it. So I think I didn't mind it at all.
I'm fine. It's not there. So I mentioned the gunplay before. It feels the same, but it's a little tighter. Has that Last of Us Part 2 flair, but I think the Last of Us Part 2's gunplay is just a little bit better. but I could be wrong on
Mhm.
that. Puzzles are dated. I mentioned that. I think the ladder/dumpster sequences were kind of a little bit dated. They're not bad. They didn't really bother me, but by like the third or fourth time I did it, I was like, all right, I do
Yeah.
remember this from the original game. Maybe it's because too I've played the game several times over now and
Well,
I've done it, so maybe it just
well, I
whatever.
mean, well, ideally, right? A game should be replayable, right? So it should it should. It might get old with time, but not this old. Like the puzzles really get old,
Yeah,
especially they get really cute with one of the last ones. I don't know if you remember. Like you gotta go down. It's in spring, right after the big encounter with infected. You have to go underwater, go all around that entire structure to get the
correct.
plank. You have to throw it in the water, then you jump in the water, get Ellie on it, get Ellie on her side, and then she drops the ladder down for you. You get on the ladder breaks. So now you gotta put the ladder under the wall and do the entire underwater section again.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of this? Like, what skill am I showcasing with
Yeah, just trying to pad out the game. Just trying to pad out the game.
Yeah, I
But
honestly wish they removed that.
but in doing that, it's just it's repetitive. But
Mm-hmm.
the next one is a big one. I did not bring this up yet, and you haven't either. But maybe it's because you haven't done your second playthrough. But the assault rifle that you get at the very end of the game when you go into the Firefly compound is not customizable. You can't add attachments to it. You can't add skins to it. You can't add scopes or anything like that to it.
You get to keep the weapons in New Game Plus.
Yeah, you get to keep it. Yeah.
Oh well, that was not a thing in the original. In the original, you keep the upgrades to the weapons, but you have to pick them up again.
Yeah. No, you get if you do Grounded Plus, they give you two options. There's classic, and then there's full loadout. I went with full loadout.
There it is.
So you get to keep all your weapons. But I will say, upon my second playthrough, I've barely seen any assault rifle ammunition, and that's fine because the assault rifle is absolute
garbage.
Trash. It's absolute garbage. It sucks so bad. I mean, it's so terrible. And but see, that's the thing. If they would have added where you could put a scope, different attachments to it, different magazine, put a stock. That way you can keep it balanced. Because right now you pretty much have to aim at the enemy's feet, and it the recoil is so bad. It's terrible.
Well, think about the original game where you might even not even get it if you don't kill any enemies. You don't even get the assault rifle, and when you do, you're at the end of the game. So when could you ever upgrade it? But I do agree, if they give you the option to keep it in new playthroughs, they could at least tinker, let you tinker a bit with it. I agree.
Just
with
added
that.
a couple. Yeah, just added a couple things.
Make it
just
playable.
like if you would have gave me a scope, I would have been happy with that. But whatever, you don't get much ammunition for it anyway, so whatever. But that is a mixed thing for me. The last thing I'll say, and then we can move on to whatever you got to finish up, is skins. And all right, so skins for the characters and weapon skins are, one, lacking in variety, and two, they're not even available until after your first initial playthrough. So you can't change anything as far as what Joel is wearing, what Ellie's wearing, what their weapons look like, or anything until after you beat the game one time. And I think that's trash, in my opinion. But it's more of a mixed thing because I'm not like, oh man, they didn't let me wear this specific shirt during a cutscene. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter that much, but it's just one of those things. It's kind of annoying. But that's my list.
Well, I think that's on my list too, the entire costumes thing. So the weird thing, you said there's not much variety. There's not much variety for what concerns Joel, but Ellie has a shit ton of shirts. You can get a little Jack and Daxter backpack that looks like Daxter.
Yeah, I got her right now. I got her wearing a God of War Ragnarok shirt right now.
Yeah, it's great. You have like a Horizon thing. There's a shit ton of Joel gets like fucking 3 sweaters. Well, Ellie gets the honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with that, but the entire thing where you cannot change them until you finish the game once. So I don't care. As you said, if it's the first time you're playing, you probably wouldn't even think of it, right? If anything, you want the costume because, as you said, The Last of Us is a very cinematic experience, right? So they change your clothing. They adapt to the environment. When it's cold, they have jackets. When it's not, they have T-shirts. So I think that it's a very bonus thing. It's a very it's almost like a mod. You feel I really would not want it to have it on my first playthrough either way. If I'm playing the game for the very first time, maybe it's more of a hindrance to us that have already played it numerous times. I think.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't think about that because like during different sections of the game, obviously you're going through different times of the year. So yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll retract that one. I'll give you that one.
But I think it's cool. Joel and Ellie can cosplay as themselves in part 2. Julie gets like a little what's it called, like a button-on shirt that she wears in part 2. Did you see that one?
No. Oh well, you're talking about Ellie, the way. Yeah.
The little outfit from part 2.
Yeah. It's called Seattle. Yeah.
Seattle. Yes, exactly. That's the one. Yeah. But so to see where. Did you want to say something?
Oh no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just gonna look at my my list here and there. Okay, so one thing that you didn't mention, but that's probably because that's obvious. They did add a lot more like language options.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot more. There's just a little tidbit of trivia. They actually have. So I usually either play in English or play like German or Italian, but they added Croatian, which is like a very niche language to think about it. Like Croatian, not a lot of people living there, so the fact that they even bothered is, I think it's it's great. They expand out. Yeah, so that was a cool thing. Director's commentary. That's what I wanted to ask you. You're playing on a second playthrough. I know that when I'm going to play on a second playthrough, I'm definitely turning on director's commentary. I'm very interested in that one. So
yeah, that's cool. I haven't tested that. No, I haven't. But that is cool though. Who is it? It's like was it like Troy Baker, the woman that plays Ellie, and then probably Neil Druckmann. They probably just talk about the games.
It's probably them. Yeah, during the cutscenes, from what I got. So that's a cool thing. What else have we got? Oh yeah, the workbench animations.
Oh,
they are. Those are. I mean, it's cool, but some are like so ridiculous. Like the ones for adding pouches, like extra holsters.
He just wipes the gun one time.
yeah, and then improve the recoil. He just fucking. And that's it. And then you have other ones. You have the ones for like adding. I don't know, fucking adding like the scope or something. He goes, you know what he does? Because most of it's obscured. Like you just hear a bunch of.
Yeah, he just got his body over it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes on for like 10 seconds. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. But I don't know. I thought, okay, that was neat. That was all right. What else have we got? Well, haptic feedback. That's whatever.
I'm glad you brought. I was just thinking about that. I thought, all right, one thing I'll add to my list is I think that's kind of a mixed one for me because while I think the haptics were okay, I didn't think they were kind of hyping, and I think they've done this for every title for PlayStation 5 so far. They hyped it up to be this great thing, and while the controller does have some cool features, like when you're like kind of putting another shell in the shotgun when you're cocking the gun, you can kind of hear it in the controller, you can feel it. Stuff like that with the bow, obviously with the tension on the trigger. But other than that, I just felt like the haptics were just all right and they're mixed. But I feel like that's for every game that's come out, in my opinion.
I agree.
With the exception of maybe, I was gonna say with the exception of maybe like Returnal and then like the newest Ratchet and Clank. I don't know if you play Ratchet and Clank, but the trigger really. Well, I'm not really into those kinds of games, but I did. That was like one of the first games I got with PlayStation because my bundle had it, and that one had like. Where the trigger had different functions, kind of like with Returnal, right? If you hold it down, it does something. I like that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but last
the only thing I like, the only thing I like about the Rumble is the little things. Like when there's rain, you can hear like there's a little bit of rain. You get like trickles on your hand. You got a little bit of that. That's cool. What else have we got? Oh yeah, so. I want you to confirm this because I would not want to just pull this out of my ass. But I thought that there were some cutscenes which did not have like music in the original, now do. Specifically the one where after Ellie helps, when Joel lets Ellie help him for the first time, he goes, make every shot count. He gives her the sniper rifle. Yeah, in the scene after that, when she goes, how did I do? He gives her the smaller gun, the handgun. Like there's a bit of like a guitar solo in the background, and I don't know we had that in the original, and there were like a few instances of that. Did you notice?
Yeah, that had a
crazy?
little bit musical cues. I don't know. That would I'd have to look back at that one. I'm not too sure. It's been a while since I played remastered.
Yeah, I wanted to check, but I got lazy. But it happened a few times where, yeah, as you said, there were like a few cues that I don't think were there in the original. Oh yeah, there's one cutscene change. Again, at the sniper thing, in the original one, while Joel and Henry were like discussing their strategy, the sniper just kind of forgets about him, just waits for Joel to get up. Well, this time the sniper is consecutively just firing at them while they're talking, and they even react to it. In cutscene, that was cool.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, they did react to that.
Yeah, that was nice. Oh yeah, Joel's grunts. We talk about that. There are no like the gameplay to cutscene transitions are seamless now. Like they used to have like a black.
Yeah.
Although it's still noticeable, like maybe it's just me that I know where they're there, but it's not like in part 2 where you go from gameplay, like you go from a cutscene and then like, okay, how I'm gonna explain this? Like the camera just pans out and now you're in gameplay. That almost never happens. That happens like 2 or 3 times the entire game. Usually you have like a very sudden camera change. And like it's better than in the original, because in the original you had like a 2 seconds of like nothingness. Yeah. But I think it's like they didn't really take advantage of it. I think it's
it doesn't do like the old school thing. Like, all right, I love like all right, go to apocalyptic games. It's like Days Gone, right? Have you played Days Gone?
I just a bit. I don't remember much of it.
I love the game, but in those cutscenes, it would always it'd be a cutscene and it just fade to black, and then the gameplay. And I hate that, because it's like we're at a time where I feel like that shouldn't happen. The Last of Us doesn't do that, but what it does is it'll show a cutscene, and instead of going to black, it'll just immediately just go. Some of them are seamless. The other ones are just like it'll show a cutscene and then boom, it's a gameplay.
Boom,
so
exactly.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So there's that, and ray tracing. I don't know if you noticed, but there are like a few reflective surfaces and
like water and stuff. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's like even a mirror, I think. I mean, really just things you could expect. And there are like a bunch of like little minor things that I noticed, like on survivor difficulty. On the original, there were like no button prompts. You still had your HUD. But like when you're like sneaking up to someone, it didn't say like press triangle to grab or something.
Yeah,
they get it back. I guess now grounded is the only one that doesn't have any cues.
Actually, it does.
It actually still does.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
It says grab. Yeah, square for grab, triangle for shiv.
I hate that, because like the entire point of a higher difficulty is that you're on your own. You should have mastered the game by now. You don't need this shit on your screen. And it's also it's more cinematic, right?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, and I don't want to wrap too long, because we've been going for 2 hours now. But one thing I will say is that in this run of Grounded, I definitely know. I mean, of course, I have my resources and stuff, like I said, turned down, but I do notice that the HUD is still available. I haven't touched anything with the HUD. Everything else is on ground. Everything else is grounded. Everything else. The only thing I got turned down is just my resources. That's it.
Well, it's not everything grounded anymore. Yeah, it's just very Survivor now. That very disappoints me, honestly. That's very disappointing. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it anymore. I'm uninstalling it.
You might be able to do it like with all the accessibility options. I know you can cut that off manually. Right. So, but it's just not. But it's not part of like.
Okay, you know what? It's probably mode. It's probably because of the accessibility. Because like even if they turned it off, grounded, you could like turn it back on through accessibility. So they didn't bother, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, they still give you that option. I don't mind it, but there is times where I do like a more immersive experience.
So certain I noticed, because I was collecting like all little artifacts and collectibles, somehow like changed in location for like no apparent reason, like very slightly. Like I don't know, they used to be on this desk, but now they're like 2 meters away, like a 1
Right.
meter away. I don't know what's up with
Yeah.
that. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but like to change shoulders while aiming, it used to be X, and now it's square.
Now it's square. Yeah.
Yeah, it threw me off so much. It threw me off like a bunch of times. And same thing for like when you change, when you're changing the weapon in your holster. You used to hold X, now you hold square.
Yep.
So, and that's really it. That's all I got.
Well, shoot. Well, we were pretty similar in our list. You just added a couple more things that.
Yeah, just
that I didn't think about.
Things I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with you. Yeah, like the scale. That's bogus.
Yeah. It's stuff that like now that like just pulling off of each other as far as what you saw, what I saw. When I go back and play it, I'll kind of pay attention a little bit more to what you said and vice versa.
Same here. Yeah.
All in all, so one final verdict, and then we're closing on this. So I'll ask you, and then I'll finish up, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
How overall do you feel about the remake? I know you said to new people it's probably not worth the $70. Maybe wait for a sale or play the remaster. But overall, is it a good remake, and are you satisfied with it?
I am satisfied. That's all I gotta say. They did as much as they could without going overboard, without ruining it. They improved what they could. As you said, there are a few things that they could have done, but at this point, like, it's just wishful thinking, right? They did everything that they promised they would. Like from the beginning, they always said, okay, it's the same game, guys. You're just improving the graphics engine. And they even did a few things above that. You know, they had a bunch of little details. They added some quality of life improvements, changed up the controls. They did everything you could have expected from them. So I say, money aside, I'm completely satisfied with this remake. I'm glad I replayed it. It was easy for me to replay this game that I love. And it's probably the way that I'm going to play it ever forward from now on. Yeah. So what about you?
Yeah. Well, as this is the only thing I've been playing for the past, let's say it came out the 2nd. So, I mean, I've been playing it for well over a week. I've beaten the game. I've always beaten it again. I'm in love with the story. I'm in love with the world and the characters, and I think I always will be. And I think I agree with you. It's definitely, and I hate to keep saying it because they kept saying in the trailer, but it really is the definitive way to play. It really is. It feels graphically, like I said, gameplay stuff. I wish it was a little bit more improved, but I beggars can't be choosers. I do feel like this is a next-gen title. That was one thing I will say I'm happy about is that we talked about in the last show that we wanted more PS5 exclusives, more PS5 feeling games. And I don't know how you felt, but for me, I felt this was a PS5 title between the visuals alone. I mean, the visuals alone is just breathtaking, but it felt like I was playing a PS5 game. Even though I've played this game before, it felt new. It felt fresh. It didn't feel old. Besides the puzzles, I did feel that. But besides that, everything else felt, I knew the story. I knew the cues. I knew most jump scares and things like that, even though some of them did still get me. I love the game. And for me personally, it's a day one buy. And for $70, I do understand it. But I think that if you haven't played this game, it's one of those that you will not regret the purchase, because I think it's just one of those. It's honestly, it's not really a game. It's more of an experience. And I'm so glad I got to experience this shit again. I love this world, love this game. And I'm ready for more, man. Last of Us Part 2 left a bad taste in my mouth in areas, but I tend to like the game. I really do. And I am at least intrigued to see what comes next. And maybe that can be like a whole other topic of conversation for the next show as we talk about where could it go from here. I feel like you kind of got to go with different characters, but that's a different topic for another day. I don't want this going on for another hour. So, how I feel about it is I love the game, and I don't think it's worth $70, but at the same time, you would be missing out on a beautiful, beautiful title for PS5. If you have the PS5, just go get it.
Yeah, honestly, you probably can't afford it, right?
You can't. Yeah, like there's not many people that have the PS5. You still can't find them anywhere. So just fuck it. Just buy it. It'd be all right. You can go to GameStop and you can make payments on it or whatever.
Yeah,
it'll be good. So, man, this was a great show, Jan. Thank you for talking to
Very
me.
good. My
Again
favorite yet.
on the last one. Yeah, man, it was great. Yeah, I don't know, man. Last week's episode was good too. I like the last, especially the last 45 minutes of that video of that stream where we kind of got into real life stuff, because I haven't really ever, since you've moved, to get to know you as a person. That was the first real conversation I got to have with you about what really happened and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. But of course, this is my favorite, especially gaming stream that we've done so far, because this was great. It was concise. We were kind of all over the place, but at the same time, we made some really good stuff. And you've opened my eyes to a few things, and I hope I did the same thing to you, man. And dude, I love this. I love this game, and I love this world, dude. So you got any closing words for the people before we leave?
Well, you honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. I love this game. We both love it, and huge thanks to Naughty Dog for making it, and huge thanks to you for listening to us, for hearing two nerds just rant about their favorite game.
Yeah, for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
For 2 hours and 10 minutes.
New record, baby. Let's make
new
record.
Well, next time, Halloween.
Yeah, next time.
Last of Us Part 3.
Yeah, Last was Part 3. Resident Evil 2. When you play through that one, I got to play it through again too myself. So I'll definitely do that before we really break that down too, because I think you'll love that. You love survival horror, you'll love that. But thank you guys for coming back for another stream. Thank you for joining me and Jan. We love having good conversations. We like having good people watch our conversations. So thank you guys for coming back to another stream. As always, like this episode. That way you show me and Jan that you love us. Sub to the channel. There'll be more videos. We've been kind of lackluster in the video department here lately because I've just had a lot of stuff going on my end. I know Jan's trying to get things set up on his. And but we'll definitely keep going with the podcast every 2 weeks. And we hope you guys will always be a part of it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming to another one. And stay dead, my friends. We'll see you later. Later, guys.
Stay dead.